about that time. Vadron, if you want to do the intro, take us away, brother.
Hello and welcome to Station 42, your weekly content and community-focused Star Citizen talk show. Today's show is hosted by the one and only Traz Ion. Say hello, Traz.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And yours truly, the infamously smooth Badrin Malik.
All right, and tonight's Station 42 broadcast supports the Star Citizen community, to include the Star Citizen Facebook group, also known as Ready Player One, Star Citizen subreddit, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and of course the fantastic people over at Cloud Imperium Games who are building the best damn space sim ever.
Well spoken, my friend. And today I'd like to introduce our special guest, Captain Mozart, a fellow Star Citizen killing it all the way from Maryland. He's been a backer following the game as far back as 2013 with a smaller size fleet that will be growing soon. He isn't currently flying for any org, so guys, keep your eyes open out there if you like the guy that you're hearing.
Fresh meat.
He prefers to keep his options open as a freelancer, so make sure that you send him all the spam his way. I'm just kidding. Hey, hello, Joe.
Hello. And you
All
just
right.
filled my inbox. Oh, Lord. It already fills up enough from fighting people.
Ask for money first. That's my tip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so flying as a freelancer, man, that's has it always been the case?
Yes.
Really? You can't
Since the
keep
beginning.
right
I
from
mean,
the beginning. Nice.
I really work well either by myself or with tiny teams that are of people I trust, and then we can do a whole lot. We can take over big areas, and it's really holding it that tiny teams becomes a problem, but having connections helps. So,
No, for sure. Well, I mean, I can see that. I'm always curious because a lot of times people who have been burned in the past, whether from other games or even from Star Citizen, I mean, I had that experience myself. I joined some orgs early on, and I had intended to just be the normal Joe. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be anybody fancy. I just wanted to be a run of the mill soldier with my ships and have no responsibility. And after a couple of crash and burn orgs, I actually got a little sick of it. I walked away from orgs altogether, and then eventually I ended up having to do my own. So I was curious if you had a similar kind of story or not.
No, I have good experience with people that have gigantic orgs, but I'm not. I just really like the small setting.
Yeah.
And plus, for what I like to do in the game, it definitely helps to just be a well-connected single entity.
Yeah. Well, I think Star Citizen is going to be a great candidate for that kind of play style as well. I always the thing that sold me the most on this game was like the constellations, because it's like 3 to 5 man. You can do small team operations, and even though I run a larger org myself now, my personal play style that I'll probably enjoy is going to be flying either like some single-seater fighter off the deck of an Idris, or it'll be out in the deep black rolling in a freelancer or a Connie. So I
love
noticed,
my Avenger.
Yeah, I noticed you talked about picking up an Aquila soon. So he's got that exploration bug, man.
Yeah. I talked to you a while back about it. The reason I had that, I have a specific mission that I want, and also the other thing. Before I get into the specific mission, the other thing is the rover. It comes with the rover, and I can also probably stock my dragonflies in it and be ready for the ground. I remember when I was going on the tour, and I was talking to them about ground vehicles, and this was before the stream and everything.
Right.
And I was like, well, it might be far off or anything, but I really just want to be prepared. And they just looked at each other and smiled a lot.
Damn.
That's awesome. I'm surprised. I mean, you were under NDA, so I'm surprised they didn't say anything. But I can see why they wouldn't, because all the Gamescom stuff is huge,
Yeah. And then I saw them working on it, and I was like, yes, I see why they were smiling.
Oh yeah. And actually, I hadn't given it a whole lot of thought, but back in the day before I kind of did the where my assets turned into like an organization assets. Originally, I had planned on day one. Yeah, did you ever read Ready Player One, the book?
I haven't, although I've been meaning to.
Oh man, I'll have to hook you up later. It's on audiobook, read by Will Wheaton. It's fantastic. But
Nice.
there's a term in there for players who solo called gunters, and they're basically supposed to be the hunters of like this Easter egg that's a part of this giant contest. And and the people that hunt this thing, either they join clans like a guild or an org or whatever, and they're going to split the prize money if they can crack it and they all work together. But then you have the the hardcore that goes solo, and they do all their own personal research, and they try to figure it out on their own, right? I had figured, since Star Citizen was supposed to allow us, or is going to allow us, the opportunity to be the first to discover, jump points and name them, or discover, celestial bodies and potentially be able to, tag those with, whatever name we come up with, within fiction that works. I really wanted to do that. I really wanted to be that first, that first finder. So to me, day one of official beta or day one of official launch, I felt would be like a gold rush. And so when you're looking at all the ships, like, what ship do you take? Like, what do you do? Because if you take a big ship, you take a Carrack, that might be the perfect exploration ship, but now you got to share naming rights with other people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, screw that. I want all the naming rights to myself.
See, that's actually a perfect segue into why I wanted the exploration ship.
Right.
Why I wanted the Aquila at first. It was because I had lost my brother last year. Or actually, last year. And actually coming up on the anniversary of that soon. But and I wanted to actually get a crew together, a small group of friends to actually name a system after him. And that was pretty much my only real exploration mission that I had planned. And I talked to a few people about it, and they wanted in. In fact, someone offered up his Carrack to be the flagship for the whole thing, and also a bunch of military escort as well. Nice. And I have no problem with sharing naming rights as long as they name it after my brother.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's
I
pretty
can
much
see
it.
that. We actually had a death in the community, in the Star Citizen community this past year.
I remember.
It was and he was a buddy of mine. I actually got to meet the guy when I exited military service, and I was on my way back to Texas from North Carolina. I stopped off, and he drove like 3 hours out in the rain, and just to meet me. We sat down and had a couple of beers and talked Star Citizen, and it was a good time. And Eric was really big on the Banu Merchantman. It was his favorite ship. He had a separate Star Citizen group just for that, and it's one of the things, like, I have my own Banu, and I planned on that being a ship that I fly, like, off on the side, separate from organization operations. And so I can understand his love, but he was so passionate about it that I felt that I would have spent more time crewing his ship, even though I've got all my own other things going on, just because it would have been amazing. And so when he passed away, we talked to CIG about it, and they're gonna try to work his name into the lore related to that.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. That's one thing I love about CIG. I really love the way that they deal with their customers. And there have been so many little stories that really stick out. Oh, yeah. Also, their workspace was amazing. I loved seeing how relaxed of an atmosphere. I know it was crunch time.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, but the atmosphere, the way the building is built, the way the office is set up, really trends towards
keep you cool.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Exactly. It was the LA office is beautiful.
Yeah,
I was very surprised to see a fizzy water machine.
I am excited to see it. I had the luxury of being able to stop by and see the smaller office, the Santa Monica office, and it was cramped. It was tight, like there was a lot of really small workspaces kind of cramped together. And seeing what they've done with the new LA office, like in the videos, is just mind blowing. I
really love the lobby. I like how that's the first thing not the original, but the cafeteria area. And I really love how it's even the fact that when you first come to work, you walk into a giant mural of Terra with gameplay on the screen, and then a little like snack bar area to the left, and the refrigerator and the water machine, which is awesome. Again, never seen one like that one, but just everything about it. And then when I went in there, I saw the people enjoying what they did. Yeah. And it was really awesome to see.
And I think that's important. Like on the Facebook community earlier today, there was a gentleman that's new to the community, and he had expressed some concerns about are all these ship sales, just gonna basically is the profit motive and how successful ship sales are, is it going to corrupt CIG? And there are some people that immediately responded to that under the pretense a
Ooh.
little bit harshly, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
trolls out there that use that same angle to try to stir up drama, and with
And I
all the
imagine he got blasted for that one.
well, no,
Phew.
actually, luckily the community is pretty right on, man. They were pretty. They were a little stiff backed at first, but they talked him through it. But I had a chance to get in there, and I was like, hey, man, like I've been with the game a long time, and you know, it's not. I mean, not all of my opinions have been rose tinted, but
Hmm.
the thing is Chris Roberts has stood up there and said, look, the money that this is making isn't going into a profit pool. The money is immediately going back into development. So really the only profit that's being made by the company are the wages that are paid to the individual positions
Yeah.
based on what those positions. So
See, this leads into what I was discussing with a friend of mine at work. I actually have one of those rare work environments where I actually have somebody else that knows about Star Citizen, so I'm blessed with that regard.
That usually
Yeah,
happens to me in my work.
we were discussing it though, and what it was in my mind has always been that the a lot of times you hear about like these multi AAA titles with tons and tons of money just sitting there just making a boatload of cash for selling a what basically would amount to a serialized story.
right,
I think of Assassin's Creed, Call of Duties, and all the others. Basically, they sell a story a lot of the times, and
right,
that's what usually keeps people going. There's no. I don't think there's any heart and soul in that. And the publishers kind of say, "Go and make another game. Go and make another game. Go and make,"
Yeah.
and
yeah,
stick to their formula.
keep that money machine rolling.
He was
Hmm.
questioning how do they manage to pay for all these top-notch talents, and I'm thinking to myself, if you know how to do something and you sincerely enjoy doing it, then you're going to want to try and make your magnum opus. You're going to want to try and make that one masterpiece. If you really love what you're doing in the first place, you're going to want to make something in your genre that stands out. And
Yes.
so, how many of these people are probably saying, "Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody on the roster at CIG right now that says, I know we'll talk about money later. Right now, I just want you to pay me a base wage to keep my family good, and we will talk about money later. But right now, I just want to do this because I want to prove to everybody that it can be done."
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. To be honest, that's my attitude at work right now. In my job, that's always been that's like the base. That's the foundation for why I do what I do. And also, although I'm the one that is in charge of a whole lot of people, but at the same time, with them, I would most definitely do work for them under that very same pretext.
right. And the thing is though is I mean I don't want them to be in the poorhouse. It makes me happy that their workspace treats their employees well. I want them to be happy. I want it to be something that every developer that works there can be proud of having been there. Not just because they
Yeah.
worked on an ambitious and challenging product, but because we the backers care enough that we're not going to begrudge them making a living wage that's competitive. I
Comment.
mean within
The-
within reason, of course.
Well,
But
I imagine though Chris Roberts has probably spent time in the trenches before. I mean,
oh,
imagine if
absolutely.
I mean, he's
He's made
probably
his
made his
wealth.
game from he's probably one of those actual basement coders from way back in the day that had less than optimal, less than happy environments to work his code. So I could see where
Yeah.
he would be invested in trying to make sure that they're as happy as they could possibly be.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No,
But that's what you
absolutely.
should do as a CEO. That's one thing. You are if you're building a company, and that's one of the reasons again why I like CIG. I've always liked
Yes.
them ever since I've heard everything that they've been about, what they've done. Just talking to some devs, it's the fact that you a make your workers happy, and b make your customers happy, and c actually legitimately care about all that.
Right.
Yes.
And they are. Even you look at the QA teams, or the customer service teams. Like they don't.
Hmm.
That's not a high paying position in the
Oh,
industry.
and that's
Yet
a hellish job.
it can
Yeah.
be, and yet every time I've talked to them, they've always been immensely like positive and
Yeah.
strong, like everything in the best of ways.
They all get to touch Disco's beard at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I think most of the CS doesn't even work in like they work up in the UK and in Austin. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess they probably have some customer service out.
I'm betting that they do have a few in LA.
Yeah,
Just a
they
few,
have a
maybe.
couple, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. But
If not, at least there's always Alexis on that end.
Yeah.
yeah, I think she's migrated up into new positions though. Like she's doing merchandising and some other things now.
Oh,
So
wow.
because she was like head of CS, and I think her position and title has changed and her role has changed, and because I believe Amanda is the one that took over that, didn't she? Didn't she get promoted up into lead of customer support? I think I remember seeing that on the RSI forums because I remember congratulating her because she's my since Chelsea left, I kind of got bounced around a bit between like some anonymous customer support and Alexis, and then I think when Alexis moved up, Amanda took over and took care of me, and now she's in the head role, which means she'll probably promote and I'll lose her too.
No, it's a funny story about that. I actually had a concierge ticket place for a long, long time ago, and what it was I wanted to actually unmelt one of my ships back when the concierge could actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what had happened was give me just a second.
Sounds like he's got some background.
All right.
Oh, I
it
do.
happens.
Yeah. No, I just
Well, what I was trying to get at though was that actually Sandy actually closed out my ticket,
nice.
which was
Oh,
kind of
wow.
trippy. She actually stayed up an entire weekend and actually covered every single ticket that had to do with an unmelt.
Wow.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
I heard about
she's
that
a
happening,
beast,
actually.
man. Like it's like we've had that drama recently where she came under attack, and and then of course those arguments always stray from the actual origin of the problem, and they always diverge into like character attacks, like that's going to somehow whatever.
It's anything.
And but the thing is there are things about that she's involved in the company that aren't covered by her title, so people could be like, oh well, she's not qualified for this or whatever. It's like, yeah, but do you actually know what she does there? She does everything.
Yes.
CIG wouldn't have gotten off the ground if it wasn't for her, so don't sit there and try to say that she's got no role in that company. She's a mover and shaker. It's just not in her title. She needs one of those crazy titles like Ben has, where he's like master and commander of all things ships, plus design and development, future proofing, things against community stupidity.
Well, what did I actually hear about that though? I don't know if it's even a rumor or not, but the whole thing started based on her cleaning out. And I don't want to propagate rumors, so maybe it's better off if I don't mention it. But do you guys want to hear it?
Yeah. I mean, go for it.
Well, sure.
We've got a
like I
million
said,
things to talk about that are game specific, so
Well, this actually is kind of game specific because she cleaned out her bank account to get the very first initial start of this process rolling for Chris, and that's it. So not only is it something that she's also invested in directly herself.
Right.
She wanted to see Chris's ambition put to the test, and I think he and the community have delivered tenfold at least.
Right. Well, and I can commiserate with that. I understand that. Like me and Robin, we both are equally invested in this game, but people see me because I'm the one who talks on the Facebook group. I'm the one who's administrating. I'm the one who's doing the voice.
She's
of the
the one
all
that
of that
controls the background. Sorry.
Not exactly, but she, what it comes down to is she and I have different motives for why we back the game and different ways that we approach the game, and so just because she doesn't fit into the mold that people expect doesn't mean she's not a valid gamer. I mean, besides, she'll whoop your ass in Arena Commander. So
I really don't doubt that any.
She's a mean pilot, and she's
Yeah,
a lot more cutthroat than I am. You gotta be careful of those girl pilots. They will fucking kill your face.
I was gonna see that one night when we were together, and then all of a sudden the servers
Bam.
to put. And then I wasn't able to get back on for the rest of the night. I was a sad camper.
Yeah,
But it's like that sometimes.
Yeah.
but it is. It's just like I feel like Sandy gets grief because she doesn't. It is. It's that double standard of, oh, you're a woman, so now you've got to be good at this over here and good. It's oh man, it's so much
It's
bullshit
irksome.
bias. Like,
Yes.
it's just let
absolutely.
it go, man. Like let people be gamers in their own way. Like she doesn't have to be like current with the game right now because right now she's too busy working. I mean, do you really want Sandy and Chris
I want her to keep
themselves
doing
as
her best job.
yeah, exactly. At this point, it doesn't matter if they're how involved they are with the gaming side of it, as long as they're pushing the game creation. It's like who was it? Like Darian Vorlik, when he's well loved by the community, but on his way out, they were like, oh well, do you play often? He's like, oh, not really. I mean, I enjoy more of the development side of it, and the project management side of it, and and I love all of that, and it's like, and I was surprised. I'm like, oh, what do you mean you're not like in there flying all the time? It's like, well, because not everybody, like sometimes the game is the building of the game, that's where you're really in the trenches. So anyways.
So what y'all think about Grimhex?
Oh yeah,
I
that
think it's
Grimhex.
crazy looking, and also I think the advancements in lighting. I remember watching the video of the building of Grimhex, and I remember seeing that they had the dynamic lighting that also accounted for the light bouncing off of objects and filling the room. And also well, I have to find the video again. But
Yeah,
so much, and it was so beautiful, and also those little tiny advancements in technology. Those are a huge deal because look at how that translated to the interest. When we see that big damaged Hulk, and you see all the lighting advancements that are present in Grimhex now, and will be when it releases. It's a huge deal. And actually, I looked at every time I see an incremental release, I look at the little things like that and how they would translate to the rest of the game, and also that particular area is really it's really kind of showing a light
yeah.
on
Oh, the puns.
on the advancement.
Yeah, no, the funny thing is 2.5 has those changes in, yet Chris Roberts, like in one of the interviews, was like, oh yeah, we think we'll have those lighting changes in by 3.0, and I'm like, but they're already. Wait, you mean there's going to be more, or do you mean? Or do you mean that we've gotten this ahead of time? I mean, like, surprise, we've got it in 2 patches early.
Yeah, and also the gameplay, gameplay aspects are going to be crazy too. That second base. What were you about to say?
An actual spawnable place that you can actually go and shoot at people, though.
Yeah.
Ain't that nice? I think that's what some of us wanted. You just
it'll
wake up, get a coffee,
good.
shoot a guy.
This is why I want to start my gameplay on Farron, if we get the option. I didn't want to start on some beautiful, fully developed, nice cityscapes and blue skies. And no, Farron was perfect. I wanted to start off as a really like bottom of the barrel, not a citizen yet.
Right.
Although I'll be finishing Squadron 42, but still, I really want to start it from the bottom character with my best friend actually.
See, I think when it comes to the being a space hobo, man, I am all about that shit. It doesn't matter how many ships I have. I'm gonna have a character that starts with nothing, and hitchhikes his way around the galaxy, around the longest like circular path that you can take around UE space. And yeah, I know, right? And like see if you can earn enough money, and yeah, like have like a bucket list of things you got to sign off on, like visit this planet, survive here, pull a detail there, whatever, and like see how many rotations around that track of checklist of items you can do without dying as that character.
I've got a favorite planet, but I'm not gonna tell you yet because I have a reason for it.
Oh, hey.
So we'll talk about that one later.
Well, you guys are ahead of me. Like I have not sat down and decided where I would want to start yet. So I'm waiting.
I'll give you a hint. This one puts me in mind of Tatooine meets Mars.
Oh, huh.
So there's
I
one
have
there's
an idea then.
okay.
Well,
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 okay.
you two and your up on top of all that lore, and it's good for you, you bastards.
Okay, so trivia, not nearly a trivia question, but really more of a like a topic of debate. Should we be able to hawk stolen ships at Grimhex? I mean, I'd really like to make some money doing some really, really dastardly stuff.
For now that since we don't have a bunch of other systems, yeah, I'm not against that. I don't
I
plan
mean,
on doing that. Killing people's my thing, but
well, you can kill him and make a little profit on the side.
yeah, this is true.
Hey,
I'd
look,
probably just give it to you and continue on. But
he's
yeah,
not
that's
gonna
true.
need that Connie anymore. Here you go.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, no, I'm not opposed to it,
So you know,
especially since we don't have other systems. If we had other systems, then yeah, why is that instantaneous?
It
But
would give some adequacy to the piracy system early on if it were able
yes,
to, if you could just fly into an area and say, hey, yeah, I landed here, and since this is like I landed this ship from Port Olisar to Grimhex and got out of it, and like it would just magically disappear into pixie dust, and you get credited 1,000 credits or something.
well,
and see,
You know,
I remember. Continue.
the dude would come out with like with a welding torch and say, "Thank you," and dismantle it right there.
Yeah, I remember them a while back talking about the chop shops and talking about changing the ship's equivalent of a VIN number and ID
right, right.
so that it
Yep.
can actually be legally yours.
Well, you know,
And
the
how
thing
much?
is I think
Continue.
they've also said that even though you can do that and you may be able to take it into UEE space, depending on where you go and how high
It
tech
might be harder.
their their scanning software, whatever, you're
Hmm.
still at risk. Like you could
That would be
still,
awesome. Still.
turn into all of a sudden you're discovered and like all the advocacy is rolling out after you and you're like, oh shit, I gotta make it to the border,
That would be
cannonball
awesome.
run.
Nice.
I love chases.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be one chase across the system. I hope to God you made it, but yeah.
I love one thing before that reminds me before Yellow was spaced out. One thing I loved doing was getting chased through the asteroids and watching or listening for the
Uh-huh.
satisfying boom behind me.
That's the best thing ever.
Music.
Especially
I mean,
especially
it's
when I left them in the dark side.
uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
It's a little sad
Amazing.
because now the asteroids are spaced out enough that even
Yeah.
though there's a lot, it's not hard to miss them, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I do miss that. I'd love to find a really densely packed, like ring system with a lot of dust, even that really erodes your shields.
Right. Or
But
occludes
yeah,
your vision. Like
yeah,
that's another topic that hasn't really been talked about in a while, but I think we've addressed before is space terrain. Basically three-dimensional terrain, whether it's things like lightning storms that would damage your EMP signature or damage
that's in the
your
concept art.
There's a nebula that's made out of nothing but alcohol.
Yeah,
well, I don't just open the airlock and get drunk. No,
Well,
you know,
that renegade, like he just sticks his head out the vacuum.
right, right. Oh God, Futurama's the best. I just like basically things that make you either fly around or have to have some kind of preparation to go through. I mean, and you can do
yeah,
the same thing with political lines. You might have a section of pirate space that you can fly through it, but that's going to be a bad enough
Hi
idea
there.
that you're probably going to want to navigate up and around it. So
yeah.
anyhow,
That's also there's a race that actually is based on environmental hazards, like a really really caustic atmosphere. Where
uh-huh.
if you go down into the
Like a
atmosphere, the
rally.
deeper you go, you can go faster, but you might end up as a cockpit
Melt
chair.
faster.
Right.
Yeah, you'll end
Well,
up as a cockpit chair at the end,
well,
and then mush.
I'm really hoping that the racing in Citizen isn't just like what we have right now with the Defford Link and all of that.
Yeah,
But I want to see some races where it's a pan system rally race
yeah.
where
There's something like that in the lore.
it's not just enough that your ship is fast. It's how's it going to hold up to the actual like wear and tear of a pan,
Yeah,
like multiple systems,
Well,
multiple
yeah,
conditions. You know?
multiple jump systems, multiple conditions,
Yeah.
actually doing something along the lines of where did you get your fuel at? You know, are you going
Right.
to risk it and skip getting the fuel
Right.
here?
Right. Almost, and
Lava
and
Planet actually comes to mind.
right, or
Oh
even
yeah.
even like a cannonball run style, where like the ships that you're racing may or may not even be fast race car ships, because if you're driving a fast race car ship, that might cause other problems. Where if you're flying something slower that's got a bigger tank of gas, or has more living conditions, so you can swap out, not have to stop. It'd
Hmm.
be really interesting. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as my character can rock out with a Burt Reynolds mustache, we're all good, right?
Wow. Okay, okay, okay. So speaking of Burt Reynolds, lower economy. No. Okay, so here's the question for Grimhex. Okay, this is one of those related ones. Grimhex is hypothetically a lower economy because it is a kind of an outlaw-based outlook, kind of squatters are
Kinda.
hiding out. Kind of well, there's not everybody that's a bad guy is actually a bad guy. It's just it is what it is. Lower economy, does that equal lower grade gear and medics? Are there going to be alternative medics that might have side effects? Is some of those gears that you get might not be quite as good as the higher tier stuff? I know that we have, for example, pirate skinned armor, but what happens if you drop down the price? Is there maybe possibly a armor that's even cheaper and you know barely does the job, holds together, but you might have to patch it yourself?
I got some ideas. I don't know. What do you think, Mozart?
That's actually, I remember CIG actually talking about things like that, because they're big on the whole, especially with the older models of pretty much everything, with it being like real life. There, I can see them actually bringing in things like cheaper or older armor models
Yeah.
that you really do, and especially since they're giving us the tools to actually patch things up ourselves. That's why we have the fix it gun and other tools. But yeah, I can definitely see that being in there. And again, I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
In
I
terms of
think.
armor,
Uh,
well,
uh,
go ahead.
I was going to say that I think, in addition to that, I think that while non-monitored outlaw space may mean that you might have a broader range of qualities, whereas
This is
new
true.
E space you might see that higher tier whatever as a standard. I also think that you might be able to get services that the UEE won't necessarily endorse. So
Like
you
a
might be
great
able
weapon
to
Silencer.
stealer.
you
Oh
might be
yeah,
able
exactly.
you might be able to get that body mod that gives you like super muscle implants that are
That makes you
Mhm.
pass out as soon as you get out of a chair. Got it.
yeah,
My
those,
heart can't handle this.
right,
Just
right.
and
fall out.
better pistols and assault rifles and things of that nature. Also,
Well,
overclocked
not.
guns.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, it might be overclocked, but its heat rating might be. There's
Yeah,
going to
Right,
be an
yeah. It might
it
also
might be
melt if you use it too much.
right, it might be
donkey
likely to
dick the barrel.
blow up in your face.
Oh yeah.
But that's something that I was thinking about though while I've got it in my head. I wanted to actually go in and say, I'm hoping that the current armor models are actually kits instead of actual armor, because I would like to be able to mix and match some of the gear. Like
Yeah.
say use the heavy chest plate, but then have maybe a lighter armor. I might get a slight speed boost, even though it won't give
Hmm.
me a full speed boost like the medium gear would give me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we'd be able to actually make it really patchy, because that's
I
that's the
think
scrapper's
they're
lifestyle, is to do what you
they're
can.
they're
Hmm.
aiming to give us as much modularity at all levels as possible. And right now, I think everybody understands that what we have is just because they need the base functionality
Hmm.
for the vertical slice. They need to be able to
Yeah.
test
Alpha
everything.
stuff.
Yeah, it's just exactly. It's just alpha stuff, but
Just alpha.
dirty, dirty alpha.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
no.
yep.
I going back to the conversation about Grimhex and the lighting, though. I think the biggest impression that the lighting changes made on me was that it was you could immediately notice it, and that it affected everything. It didn't matter if you
Hmm.
were out at the ICC missions flying around, or if you were in ArcCorp, or Port Olisar, or Grimhex, or even in the racing. It's just wow, everything just looks
Yeah.
more beautiful. The
Yes.
sun reflects
Definitely.
off of something, and it's just crazy. It's pretty mind blowing.
Yeah.
So Traz, you've had an opportunity to try this out. Which when you're going to Grimhex and you're actually trying to do something, what is your preferred method of entry? Do you like to just go on the yeah?
Uh,
Which well, I
from the
mean, honestly
back
though, do you
door.
dock on the pads, or are you going through the elevator?
No way, no way, baby. I always go in from the back. Surprise!
I'll have to ask. I'll have to ask somebody that one day.
No, okay. So there's two entrances. There's a side entrance that is you can kind of see it's a little bit lit up and it's in a dark quadrant, and you can fly up and you can park your ship in the dark and you can EVA in, and it's a little bit longer to EVA all the way in, and you have to float up a vertical shaft where an old elevator, you dirty old pirate.
You keep on talking about how much longer it is in a vertical shaft.
Right.
And entering from
And
the back.
and it's inside an area where there used to be habitation modules and everything else. So I explored it a bit, but I haven't extensively explored it to see if there's any secret passages or unlocked doors. So I got, and let me tell you something, like, it needs to be explored, because outside of Grimhex, out in EVA off of one of the platforms, if you're searching around, there's some secrets out there. I don't know if people want to be have their experience spoiled, but let's just say it pays to look around. Like, I found a murder scene that was pretty gruesome.
Some people have those secrets on video already.
Yes, I'm sure they do.
Well, don't go to YouTube and look at them. Go find them for yourself, you dirty assholes.
Hey,
all right. So, anything else you want to cover about Star Marine? I mean, Grimhex, because we want to talk about Star Marine. You know what's on my mind?
Well, I mean, it's been all right. I was flying the Reliant a bit, and you could fit 2 size 3s on the caps and 2 size 1s. But the last time I summoned the ship, it only let me put 1 size 3 on. So I don't know if they changed it. I haven't put it in hangar again to test that. So, and if I remember
old
anything,
Nerf hammer.
Well, I don't know if you could say that. I don't think it was supposed to, I don't think the core was supposed to be able to be that heavily weaponized. I think that was supposed to be the realm of the Tana. Or no, not the Tana. Which is the Tana the combat version? It's been a while.
I've always wondered if you added a cut to the top of it. Sorry.
He's so funny.
He's making dad jokes.
I'm making Ben jokes. What are you talking about?
No, Ben's jokes got a little more class.
Not really.
One of these days we're gonna have Ben on here. Did you, Captain Mozart? Did you get to meet Ben while you were out there?
Yes, I did actually.
Very
we
nice.
talked for a while about I'll get into that later.
Okay.
But yeah, it was awesome, and he's from my area actually.
That's right. You
almost the same neighborhood.
Damn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
It
nice.
was wild.
Close
and
to
then
home.
Jared was all like, "Did you talk to Maryland over there?"
Wow.
I was like,
Good
"Yes,
times.
I have." But yeah, he's
I
from
know
my area.
I know a few people from Maryland while I was in the military, but I've never actually been myself. So it's one of the states I haven't really spent any time in. So
You experience all the weather here all the time. It's kind of ridiculous.
Damn.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh, it's burning hot one day and then it's snowing the next in
It's
April.
a burning hot blizzard in the middle of a typhoon. Got it.
Oh yeah. Like I said, there's been a blizzard in April before, and then all kind of tomfoolery with the weather. The weather does what it wants.
Should be like the Weather Channel state.
Oh yeah, it's
weather
our most distinct feature.
and threw the weather on the floor.
Oh damn. Okay,
So
and
I
Star
gotta-
Marine. Let's go about that.
So I got a question for you before we get into like Star Marine.
Mhm.
Sure, I'll
So-
go ahead.
So
I love doing that to him.
what? Anyways, so they announced so many features and so many things in between 2.5, 2.6, and the now 3.0. What are there any features missing from what is coming out that you're looking forward to later in the year? Like, what are you looking forward to that they have not announced in the next 3 major patches?
Didn't I ask this in a different question? Never mind.
I don't know. Did you?
I tried to. You just went in and edited that. But anyway, I'll talk to you later.
I'm not sure actually. There's looking at what they have right now. Like I said, my specific mission type, the type that I'm looking for, the assassination missions.
Yeah.
So that's really what I'm looking forward to the most. I want somebody to be like, go stalk that guy and take him out. And
We need to talk later.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah,
that's
that's my career choice.
that's a good conversation too. Because Chris in one of the interviews, I don't even remember which one, because he
Did he
talked on
bring it up?
Gamescom, he talked in two
Yeah.
other different interviews,
Oh
but
gosh.
he was talking about bounty hunting, and there were questions put to him about those mechanics, and one of the questions I always talk about is, when people talk about bounty hunting, they talk about, oh, you're going to be able to find somebody and track them with your ship. Personally, I feel like whether you're a bounty hunter or an assassin, well, maybe with an assassin, you'd want to blow them up while they're in the ship, but if you're a bounty hunter and you're trying to bag somebody, you're going to want to catch them when they're not in their, ship that's armed to the teeth. You're going to want to like catch
Yeah.
them down on planet side when they're walking from the bar over to the store and be like, hey, buddy, you want to buy some things in this alley?
Who
Here,
walks to
boom.
a bar to the store? I usually go straight to the urinal.
See, to be honest, as an assassin, really, I'd prefer on foot stuff. I'd prefer to get out of
Right.
my ship and track them somewhere and catch them while they're off to
Like-
off in a dark corner or something like that. See, I'm cool with ship combat, and actually, I'm great at it. But at the same time, I'd love to see some really, really stealthy on foot kills.
Like I
Right.
said, you and I need to we need to be friends, because I've always discreetly, well, not so discreetly, said that I wanted to do that specifically.
What is it? What is
I
it?
mean,
with
I
these
weighed the
music people in their enjoyment
Well,
of killing
you
people for a
don't really.
profession.
You want to feel the metal. You want
Yes,
to become
It's
one
so
with it.
metal.
Hell yeah, bloodshed. I'm death clock to the core, baby. There you
Yeah,
go.
I'd love to do it in person. See, I'd love to be the guy that you're my target's on a what is the Genesis
Right.
or the Starliner.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there in their seat, and then they go up to use the restroom, and I catch them in the back somewhere, and then
This
I
Give
call
them
my
the,
pirate
give them the
buddies.
shiv.
Yeah.
And then I call my pirate buddies, and they blow the thing up, and it's blamed on them, and they don't really care because it's what they do, and I
See,
slip
I'm
out of the
that guy.
side. Yeah, and then yeah, and I'd also like to do it in a way where I'm super ghostly.
Yeah.
So I won't be actually doing that particular thing because I've just said it in public.
Well, you say
Well-
that there's going to be room for it. I mean,
And your name is Steve, right? Steve, right? Okay, yeah.
the thing is what makes me excited about hearing him talk about that, and even hearing him talk about things like planet-side habitation and all this other stuff, is it means that we're talking about having viable gameplay that doesn't just involve being in space in one way, shape, or form.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that's going to contribute to having a living, breathing world where people will log in and just spend time
I can actually
doing
log
things
in
and not
and be a
necessarily
space
just
farmer.
yeah,
You can.
Well, I mean, more than that. It comes down to like back in when I played in EverQuest, if you didn't have enough time to log on and find a group and sit there and grind experience for 4 or 5
Yeah.
hours. If you didn't have a full half a day or a full day to play, you only had a couple of hours, you might get on and make some armor or go dick around with your inventory. You might go stock up on supplies. You might, manage aspects of your character and your bank and your gear and equipment. Or
Get
you might
ready for that raid, that lonely raid that'll never happen.
Or go sell gear, auction, or trade skill, or whatever. And so,
Speaking of,
yeah,
I realized something. Oh, well, one of the things that I really want to see. There's two things.
uh-huh,
One, I'd like a wide range of jobs. Imagine, especially for us in the assassination stuff.
Mhm.
Imagine if we here just out in the air somehow we happen to stumble upon a really, really, really well-paying job, and all we really need is to kill the guy. However, and they'll pay us buku ridiculous money, but he's really, really well
Armored?
secured, and armored, secured. He's got guards. You have to figure out
right.
how to deal with them, send distractions, but missions where it'd be a real come up, and but it'd also be really, really difficult. I'd like to see you be able to, because in real life sometimes you stumble upon things and you end up with amazing results. And not that it would happen all the time or that it'd be really common or anything like that, but just the fact that that would be out there. I'd really love to see that. And the second thing is, and this is more to the community, please somebody be the Riddick of the verse. I'd like to have an unkillable target that you send people down and he just kills them all, and then you chase him through some crazy, horrible weather planet or jungle moon or something like that. I'd really love someone in the community to be the Riddick. because I'd love to chase that person.
So here's the question for you, and this is the thing that I often actually get faced with whenever I tell them my chosen profession, because I want to do the same thing as you, but at the same time, I want to go about it a different method, obviously more brute force. But the thing is that people often say, well, you want to be an assassination, you must want to be a griefer.
No.
So yeah, exactly. So enlighten me to this one. What's your take on it?
See, if you catch me in the verse right now, I leave people completely alone unless they shoot at me. I just happen to go to the places right now where they will shoot at me, and I welcome their shooting. In fact, sometimes I'll ask for duels. But yeah, and I'm not opposed to 2-on-1, 3-on-1s. Don't
Phrasing.
Yeah, phrasing. Anyway, anyway, yeah, no, it doesn't mean that you're a griefer, because again, I also have specific rules that are in lines that I won't cross unless I just really, really have to.
Right.
But
so in other words, you're
Hmm?
not out to go out and just kill any target. You're not saying
No,
I want to fly assassin so that I can have an excuse to kill
I'm just
everybody.
not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not here to blow up. In fact, I'm not gonna blow you up.
You
in
want
the
a
burst unless
hard
you mess
target.
with me. Yeah, unless you mess with me or you pay me a lot. Those are the two requirements.
And so would you say that actually with all the competing orgs and the rivalry that's already brewing, and being a neutral person, that you actually are in the best position to actually take advantage of those contract jobs?
Yes.
You know,
That's why I'm freelance.
I
mean,
got
I have
some,
lots of friends.
Yeah,
So I deal like that.
you do need to stay well networked. You know, and
Yeah.
going back to what you were saying earlier too about how you would pursue a target, I think it would be really fantastic if down the road, like whether the contract is an NPC and it's a mission that you got from an NPC, or the contract is a player, you know, and you're hired by another org to, you know, kill this, you know, high profile player, but like
That would never happen.
not only can you can choose to be like I'm gonna sneak in like a ninja and be that kind of assassin, but you might do it a whole other way where you like, you know, get yourself hired by that organization as a, you know, as an engineer and or a combat medic, and then, you know, you work your way in and you actually spend some undercover time until you get close enough to that target, and then you hit them.
Yeah.
And you know, what I want to see is
Espionage? Sabotage?
Yes, they talked about that a long time ago. I haven't heard anything about that in the last 2 years, but
Right.
a long time ago they spoke on that very subject.
And I want to see that on the player versus player side, I want to see it where your one character, that you don't have to go and make a secondary character just to do this. Instead, you can actually, just like you can restrip the reg tags on a ship to try to, you know, be able to steal someone's ship and whatever. I mean, it can be discovered, but you know, you're trying to defeat their, you know, you're trying to defeat their
background
sniffers.
checks, all the other
Right,
stuff. Yeah,
right.
stuff you would do if you were really an assassin.
Yeah, like where you could actually like try to change your character's identity and things like that. Like have it where you could in-game change your name, but you know, there's an actual system and mechanic for that. And then also on the NPC side of things, have it where there are NPC run factions and organizations in the verse that actually
are actually assassins.
No.
Yes.
No. What I'm
that's what I want.
Well, sure,
but yeah.
Sorry.
I'm saying
also that.
I'm saying that where there are actual factions and organizations in the verse that do certain things. Where if your target is like, say, you know, a junior executive on the council of the planetary representatives of Goss. You know, you roll in and you, the player, can actually be employed by this NPC organization. If they can make it so that the NPCs and players interact so closely, it's going to be immense. You know,
now that's what I'm looking for. That exactly what you just said is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Sir, exactly. And see, they talked about a while back. There'd be certain targets that are just like unreachable. Like the Admiral and things like that. But then there'd be lower targets that actually are like events or something like that, where it's like, okay, this person's moving off of this planet and they've got a convoy or and things like that. See, I'd really, really, really want to see support for those. And I'd like to see a distinction between bounty hunter and assassin.
Yes, absolutely.
Bring them in live rates are cool, but
they are not
I really want to jobs.
Yeah.
I want the job to be separate. I want the support and the type of career, because they're completely different careers
They
that
absolutely
require
are.
a completely different. I mean, they require some similar skills, but for the most part, one's more heavy-handed,
Yes.
and some of the others, you do something and you don't want people to know it was you. You don't want people to know that,
Right.
or that it was on
Well,
purpose or anything like that.
yeah. If you're a bounty hunter, you need to stay employable, which means that
Yeah.
you have to take jobs that at worst are shady, but at
Yeah.
best are above board, and
Yes,
can
assassins
be
complete
justified.
below,
You know,
exactly.
and
And
whereas
that's
like
the thing.
you may have some jobs that are dead or alive. For the most part, that's not the case. It's
Yeah.
try to bring them in because you want to bring them to justice, or you want to get restitution, you want to get your money back or whatever. Hence, capture them alive. An
Exactly.
assassin, on the other hand, is somebody that like you want
I
somebody
kill
murdered
for money.
and you either want that person, either you want it public so that they know that they're assassinated, so it's kind of an act of terrorism where it creates fear, or you want it where the person dies
Need someone
mysteriously
removed.
just because you need them removed, and if anything,
Yeah.
you need to cover up that they were murdered. You need to be able
Exactly.
to disguise that crime
And
scene.
there's supposed to be like an evidence system in the game. There's
Oh
also
my
supposed to be a
God.
witness system in the game.
Yeah,
That's the kind of stuff I'd love to play, because what you said, it's a criminal profession.
right.
And
And,
even
and,
though
and
you
they have a little bit of the witness.
but yeah,
A
Yeah.
little bit of the witness system is in with the comrays, but
with
that's
the,
such
and
a.
that was one thing I was happy about, because I remember
Yeah.
hearing about that 3 years ago.
I know, and I
And-
didn't expect it so soon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple. It's super simplistic right now, but I don't care. It's a start, and it's a
Yeah.
start in the right direction. And already, it is positively affecting the game culture of
Yeah.
of how players interact. You really don't see a lot of griefing when you know what I mean. Even if it can happen, people just don't, because then it impacts their playtime, because then they got to deal with being a criminal, and they got to deal with the headache. And if it's not what they want, then they're gonna hold their hand, because there's a ramification to their actions.
Yes. And
which is
see,
very
I
close to
want
real world.
nuance. I want nuances. Like, imagine if I can do my job and I can also walk amongst the public, and people don't know that that's my job unless you're just really in the know. And especially since facial reconstruction is going to be a thing for a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Same with stem cells therapy. But yeah, imagine if I can walk amongst the public and people really don't know, hey, that's my job. That's an assassin guy. I could be just some guy on Terra in a nice suit
Right.
who on the low just happens to be great at killing people. I really want criminal. I don't want it to be like GTA's crime system where you're just sitting there. Oh, you've got a bunch of stars and it's just really.
Let me
black
go
and white.
hide
No.
in my hotel for a little while so I can dodge the heat.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd
yeah.
like
I mean,
and see, imagine.
even the current criminal system in our game, with its
Yeah.
like tier system, that won't last long. It can't,
Yeah,
because
I
it's
can't
not.
wait for subsumption to be
Yeah.
in charge of a lot of the interactions that lead to these kind of things.
Mhm.
But yeah, what you described though, the junior executive that you need removed, and you go there and you work for the company for a while, and then you gain their trust, or you work there for a short time, and you happen to catch him somewhere, and
Right.
it's the right time, the right place, the right time. And since they have, and the thing about subsumption, since they have goals, they have immediate tasks, they have long-term tasks, they have places they like to eat, they have places they like to go. That is the perfect situation for an assassin. You might study them.
Right. You might work there not so you can kill them on the job, but just so you can study their habits and get a sight picture of their pattern of life. And
Exactly.
then you
Take
can
them on the way from their favorite bar or something like that.
You're
or to
footprinting.
visit their mother on Terra.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's got a pattern, and everybody has, and this is actually true in real life. You're basically footprinting and you're casing a suspect.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
TG Yak in chat was just saying just that. He was talking about, casing the target, face transplants. Yeah, it's all going to be great stuff.
So
Yeah,
basically, the cost of your assassination fee would also cover the cost of your reconstructions
Yes.
and any
Oh,
other assets
absolutely.
you might
Well,
have.
yeah, it depends. It depends on how high profile the target is.
Mhm.
What your reputation can command. you
Yep.
know,
And
I mean,
then
both
that's why
amongst
also
players
I'm
and
building
amongst
a reputation in the
NPCs.
verse right now for kill skills.
Nice.
It's funny. People were like, I remember I was with a group of people one day, and we were just going around, and then I meet this guy, and we kind of spar a bit, and I recognized the name. I was like, "Have I fought you before?" And I remember this girl was like, "Is there anybody you haven't fought?" And because every time they see me online, I'm sparring with. Yeah, it's like that. Every time they see me online, I'm sparring with somebody, and it's always some crazy battle. I remember one time they came online and I was soloing a Starfarer because I wanted to see just how many bullets he could take. And
I might have done that before.
And see, the guy was really nice about it. I was like, yeah, I want to see how tough that thing is. He was like, oh, you're welcome to it. And he was like, oh, you just want me to park? I was like, no, please do not just park there.
Yeah.
Shoot at me.
Yeah,
in fact, hire people or call people. Have them shoot at me too. I'd like those kind of conditions.
Yeah, you want to push the envelope and see what it can take. You know, I mean, that's usually my main motivation when I go to public enemy status, is because it's one of the few times that I don't have to work to get in a battle, because people come after me, you know, and the conditions by which they come after me are ever changing, because, you know, they'll come at me sideways, they'll come at me from the top, the bottom, they'll you know, they make me dance on my feet to
you want to be jumpy, you want to be able to react to the. You want to be able to react in any situation.
Now imagine you had planets in the mix of that, and you can go down to forests, you can go down to the snow and the mountains, and
you
you're
play
there.
some Planet-side Skyrim mod.
Damn.
Imagine, and that's the Riddick thing I was talking about. But yeah.
Oh boy, I'm gonna kill me a giant now. Thanks. So, Star Marine. Let's talk about that one just for a little bit, because it's going to be an important element to what you're going to be doing.
Yes.
So, any kind of special grenades that you'd be interested in? Like, let's play a game here. If you could make a grenade, what would it be? What would it do?
Give me your face.
Well, a few things. One, I really like the EMP grenades, and I also like the concussion grenades, because I feel like you can actually get some interesting uses out of them, especially in zero gravity.
Right. It'll be interesting too if they have like a knockout gas.
And that's another thing. Definitely.
Definitely. At least for indoor situations, like if you catch them in a small room and it spreads too quick, like they like kind of like you black out when you're taking G-forces. Like they're all like starting to black out, and the player is trying to find the door while his character's losing consciousness. Oh my God!
I love that. And then they wake up in the back of an Avenger.
That's right.
On their way to God knows where. Only to be taken out.
Summer slave camp.
Imagine if you had a constellation and you filled it up with hostile fauna, which they'd like to be a thing.
Right.
Or you didn't fill it up, or you filled up the back with hostile fauna, and then you knocked them out, and you put them back there with said hostile fauna, just to see what happens.
You know, something
a cage on each side, and you're like, hey, buddy, I think you're going to give us those passcodes, or we're about to open up the door. Oh, my God.
You can just shoot them open and then close the door, especially since the lock system's coming soon.
Yep.
Yeah, shoot those cages open. And they can maybe have a baton, but it's not going to help because, yeah.
So what you got there in the back of your Starfarer? Just a ranker boost. What?
It'd be like the Force Awakens.
Yeah,
transporting dangerous things. Imagine poaching.
From chat, TG Yak said gravity nades, like, you know, grav nades.
Oh yeah. See, I wanted to say that, but I didn't know how plausible it'd be.
Right. Well, it was like, I remember you playing Descent way back in the day, and there was a missile that would explode, and when it did, everything would get sucked in towards it. Oh, it was absolutely fucking awesome.
Yeah. I'd love something like that. That's actually at the top, but again, I know how plausible it'd be.
Right.
I'm still stuck on grav nads. Because that's how somebody would say it one day.
Grav nads. Hey, get your hands off my grav nads.
Yeah, I could see somebody saying that one day. I'm sorry. It's just that's what came to mind.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a balls to the walls around here. Anyway, breakable walls. Speaking of it, right? So that's horrible.
Yes.
So in the Star Marine module, do you think it would be fair actually to allow a ventable room, as in like say a breakable glass pane that would actually if they didn't know to equip their mag boots at that time, that they would actually be vented out and have to EVA fight back in?
Yes, let them learn the hard lesson, and let them learn to they're gonna have to go back around to the airlock too, because I've seen the way they decompress and things close.
Well, yeah, the things would probably close for a little bit, but maybe it's the redneck base that actually, decided they wanted to leave the mini blinds up this week, So you're still trying to sit there, you're surfing and you're floating and you're floating, and the guys are just taking sniper shots at you then because you have
Yeah,
no cover.
that'd be perfect, and a good lesson for the verse, because since they're allowing bigger ships to actually be destroyed more dynamically now,
Oh.
yeah, the side of your ship can be gone. You're gonna have to deal with that. Imagine you're in the mess hall just hanging out, and then
did you see that Starfare cracked in half?
yes, that
I
was
was
beautiful.
wondering. I was wondering about that. Is that actually a possible outcome? Like,
Yes.
has anybody crunched a Starfare and actually had that floating around?
Not yet, but it's
Not
they're,
yet.
they're, like what Mozart was
Nice
saying.
answer.
They've talked about they've got it to where they can split physics grids into separate sections. So you could have
Yep.
a ship like that cracked in half. I mean, that's
Yep.
just going to be
So-
immense.
So, has anybody actually taken any recordings or videos of what it's like to be in a Starfare as it's being attacked?
The guy was
That's-
blowing up. He did. I gotta find him. But yeah, the
See,
guy
that's
was
what I
blowing
was
up.
wanting to
Definitely took
see.
video, and I'd love to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and he's in my friends list. I'm gonna have to go and check. And it's
Nice.
funny. I've made a whole lot of friends with people I've blown up.
That's nice.
Ah, you
It's
know,
like,
that-
hey, can I
that's
blow
how I
you
make
up?
friends in the
I
verse.
Sure.
mean, if you're friendly about it and not a douchebag, usually
Mhm.
that's a good way to do, because you know you,
I just grab my Delta and go to Kovalex, and people cuss me out for a while.
that's
See, that's
because
why I love the
because you're
Delta
just
too.
blowing them up off the platform with fucking
Yes,
rockets.
it is.
Speaking of the Delta, imagine those dumbfires on the ground, which is why I want the Delta.
Haha, yeah, you and me think alike.
Yeah, imagine you have your and someone's like, "Oh, there'll be no ground targets," and then
All I
you
gotta
watch
say is
the
that-
video.
I
shit.
prefer
Yeah.
dumbfire missiles over dumbfire rockets over smart missiles.
That's horrible. That's
All right,
horrible.
Uh,
Yeah, okay, your ship's gonna be named the D, isn't it?
the D. No, I'm sorry, no, I'm not even saying what my ship's gonna be named. man.
Mustang D, Mustang Delta with smart missiles.
The Delta Smart.
Oh,
Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
All right, moving
All
on.
right.
Moving on.
Anyhow.
How much attention? So, how much attention to detail would you think would be good?
in what?
Like
Just
Star
in
Marine,
general?
just Star Marine in general. Like, do you want to actually just a hypothetical, throwing it out there, because too much detail can sometimes think
No,
the
man.
differences
I'd
between
love to
Call
have
of
you.
Duty versus Counter Strike versus
Like
Arma.
Arma.
Arma. Yeah.
There you go.
I think we all want a full featured tactical shooter experience.
And
Like,
again, as an
I've-
assassin, I'd like to be able to blow your knees out and have you limp, or take your arm away while you're. And see, with grab your hands, the one thing they demonstrated a long time ago was you being able to pick up a gun and throw it to somebody.
Uh-huh.
And imagine how useful that can be in the verse. And also imagine if someone's throwing it
Pick
to
up
you
a
and I blow
hand
your
and
hands
throw it at somebody.
off.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, imagine if you're throwing a gun at Traz and I blow Traz's hands off. And it wasn't I mean it wasn't
Knowing
or imagine I was
Traz,
shooting
he'd
him
like
and it
somehow
actually-
do like a spin half twist in the middle of the air, grab it with his teeth, and like pull the trigger with his gun, knocking himself out in the process and venting the room.
because this is Star Citizen.
It's like,
But yeah,
you lucky fuck. Before you died, that's how you went.
Of course.
but yeah, and then see, not even because I'd aim for hands, because that's impractical. Unless I just had a really, really good sniper friend of mine somewhere who was a dick
Parked on high.
and liked to harm people in various ways.
Oh boy. Anywho.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what about lighting?
Yeah, we'll talk about We'll talk
We-
later.
We talked about lighting for a second, but we didn't talk about lighting in the aspect that I like. So anybody
Lighting people
remember
up?
the original? No. I like the original.
Screw
Do you
your
remember the
lighting.
Doom 3? You remember Doom 3 before they added
Yeah.
the gun? I absolutely love darkness as an actual theme. One of the things that I was floating around on, I was looking at yellow, and I
Mhm.
realized that there is no space in the backside of yellow that is actually truly dark.
Dark.
You can
yeah.
actually, yeah, like you can't, like you know, the dark side of the moon. Well, yellow's a moon,
Mhm.
and I can see the dark side of it just fine.
Mhm.
So the question comes to mind: is Yeah, all theory aside, like, yeah, this must be the asteroids reflecting light back on. No. Scratch that. Is there an
No,
actual black, pitch black area?
that's what I want.
Well,
I'd
you
love
gotta
that.
see there's going to be other starlight and so on. So I mean, it kind of makes
But
sense.
that's the
And
only
I'm
thing
sure
about
it's
the
a portion.
Starfarer that upset me about it was like there was actual ambient light still floating around.
Hmm.
Like
Oh
I
yeah,
understand that the electricity was still on, so maybe there's justification for that. But
like
like,
little
let's say
running
the
lights and such.
Starfarer's, yeah, let's say the Starfarer's been out for a while. Let's say that like the bodies in there, if they were on a planet side, would be skeletons by then. So, what then? Is it going to be still lit, or is it going to be still spewing gas everywhere,
See,
or are they
I'd love
actually going to go to
complete
that
Well,
darkness.
detail?
I'm sure, like you were talking about in the notes. I mean, I'm sure there will be a need for things like flashlights and night vision and all
Yeah,
that good stuff.
exactly. That's why there
It'll
should be
come.
complete darkness. Also, because I'm good at that. I remember I actually spent some time in Korea, and I just stuck to the third floor. This was before the update that made it that made it able to made you able to be a security guard. But anyways, I'd be up in the
Eliminated you.
darkness, and there'd be people coming by, running around, doing whatever, and then they take 3 shots and slide across the floor from the darkness. And that's the one thing I really love. See, I really like using darkness, so I'd
Oh
prefer
yeah.
that there be really dark corners, and also a use for running to a ship and going and finding the power, and turning it on instead of just running around and with your flashlights and getting your face eaten off by something or
I'm
getting blown away
thinking,
by someone who's chilling there.
I'm thinking of James Earl Jones. You do not know the power of the dark side.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
Sorry.
it'll be good. I mean, I just want there to be for every strategy, I want there to be a counter strategy.
I'm hoping
And that
so.
way, it'll come down to the professionalism. If you come in with a team of guys and they have the gear, they know when to use it, they know how to use it, they're on point, they're effective together, and they talk teamwork. You know, it's
I hope that
it's
they
going to make a
win.
huge difference. Right, it's going to make a huge difference.
Hmm.
No matter how great your twitch reflex skills or your aim, you know, at the end of the day, if you're not rolling with a good communicating
17
team set,
people.
you're gonna. No, I'm not talking blob tactics. I'm talking about. I mean, honestly, okay, all right, troll face. No, I don't like having 17 people wouldn't help. That would just create a clusterfuck of friendly fire.
Oh, okay,
Oh, I'm
okay.
about to say
So
I
here's
was in
what
an
you
eight on
do.
one and killed all of them, or actually killed half of them, escaped with their ship and
Well,
blew it up. So
so
yeah,
here's
about
what you
that.
do. It's 17 people. Okay, so you know that there's you and your other four buddies. You guys are
Hmm.
the actual squad, and the other
Hmm.
17 people, they are just there to cause chaos, havoc, and disorder. It is still a wonderful plan in action. You just have to make sure that they go in first, and then when
And
they get
Leroy
mopped
Jenkins
up,
here.
then you go in, and then you do the counter mopping.
Oh yeah. Hey, I
Is that
kind of
not a
like that.
workable strategy, Travis? Come on now.
Sure, man, sure.
You just
While
want
they're
me.
busy
You just
looting the
want to
bodies,
watch
you
me
just load
die.
them
I got
away.
you. He just wants to watch me die right now. I've been bugging him all night.
If you say so, man. If you say so.
I have a crazy friend who wants to be the distraction. He just wants to roll in there with a shotgun, and I'm trying to tell him that he'll probably die fast by a sniper like that. But but yeah,
Eh, I don't know. He might take a few with him.
yeah. Yeah. I actually have a couple crazy friends. One of them from Elite,
There you
who's
go.
who's yeah. His role around our group is he's the crazy one. And
Yeah,
then I found his counterpart in Star Citizen. That was funny.
yeah. My
I
name is
lost
Bill. Don't make Bill mad. Gotcha.
that. Yeah.
Travis, you take the next topic.
All right, I was talking to one of the guests. We actually had somebody who stepped into the chat who was asking, "Is Star Citizen worth it?" They have a $5 coupon and off any package, and they're considering it. Oh man, I gotta emphatically say yes, it is. Um,
Yeah.
Hang on.
and
Let's do it this way.
I'm not saying go for like a huge package, but
Go
all you
buy an Idris.
yeah,
No.
all you need is the lowest package to start out with would be a $45 package, which would cover or 60 if you want to have access to both the single player game and the persistent universe at launch, and it's worth it. That's $15 extra for a whole second game. Um,
Hmm.
you know, and that would start you off with either like the Aurora or the
Mustang Alpha.
Mustang Alpha. Now, Mustang Alpha looks prettier, it's faster, it's more maneuverable and sexy. It carries a
But
little bit of cargo, but it's a very single focused ship. Whereas the Aurora, you have a bed in it, which means that while you're out in space, you can log out and be able to
And
log
save.
back in. Where basically you can save your game while flying around. You don't have to go back to port. It can carry cargo or fly without it. You can load it up with an extra missile rack on top and guns, and so it's much
Well-
more the workman's kind of truck, but it's more versatile. So depending on whether you want to go, yeah, either way, they're both great ships, and even before the game launches, you can use those ships to earn rental credits in the game so that you can test every other ship that's in the game
Yep.
just
Not
for
to
the hells of
mention
it.
free flies.
Right,
There's
and-
also free flies.
Right, and there is the free fly right now,
And you
and
can crash Constellation for free.
yeah, and test it out, man. And the thing is too is our community is amazing. If you pick up the game, go check out Facebook, check out Reddit, check out the RSI forums. Look for the big groups. Come in, ask questions. Any one of the active players are going to be willing to get on and pull up any one of the ships and let you try it out. Like
Well,
it's
let
too
me
easy.
let me
It's a
sum up.
great community.
Let me make a summary of what you're saying. It's worth the risk of $45 if you just buy into the game if you want to. If you don't want to, that's okay too. You can still wait, but you won't know as much about the game as everybody else that's coming into the community with you when the game should launch. So what I'm saying there is it's $45. You spend $45 at dinner and a movie. You spend $45 going to a game of bowling. You spend $45 filling up some vehicles these days. $45 you're not gonna it's basically that's the night at a casino basically for some people. So I mean, you really don't stand to lose much if you're only comfortable investing or purchasing or however you want to look at it. If you only want to spend that much, then there's no harm, no foul. More power to you. You'll actually be able to fly immediately when you do that. You'll be able to actually explore other things and learn more about the game and its progress. And you'll actually get to see game development as it's unfolding firsthand. You'll be able to actually hop into the PTU.
This is
And
a
actually-
once in a lifetime kind of experience.
Yes,
I've been
absolutely.
I've been a multi-decade generational gamer, and
Same here.
there's a couple other games that have had amazing community experiences, and in almost every single instance, publishers have taken a good idea and ran with it to the bank and basically wrecked the
Destroyed it.
experience. This is
Sony.
This is being built by Chris Roberts. He's not doing this because he needs the money. He's already got the money. He's doing it because this is the game that he's always wanted to build, and the technology is finally there.
Yep.
Matter of fact, the technology wasn't there. He's building the
He's
technology
making it.
for it.
He made a lot of the technology.
With some of the most
team.
brilliant gaming developer minds around the globe. It's an immense experience. I've been a part of it for almost 4 years, and it's there. I have no regrets. You just
So is Star Citizen worth it? For $45, yes, it's definitely worth it. And
Yeah.
I think that at that entry level, if you care a lot about video games, skip that Steam sale one day, or don't buy that latest Call of Duty, that latest Assassin's Creed. Don't buy that newest. You're gonna get charged $60 for $45. Take a look at it, and if you really like what you see on that side of the fence, and you feel like doing the $15 upgrade to buy the single player game, which is going to be supposedly coming out in 2016, beginning of 2017. $15, you get a AAA single player game, and you also get access to an MMO game later on down the line.
Right.
I think that for
Well,
$45, it's
Well,
definitely worth it.
you get access to that MMO as it's being developed. I mean, if you're watching the video stream, like while we're talking, that's me playing in the live test environment right now. So, I mean, I'm not playing right now. This is a recording from earlier, but this is what you would have access to. So you're still playing in a vertical slice of that persistent universe. It's oh man, I can't even express how awesome this game is. So
Yeah.
even
Just
even with
even
its
just right now.
right, even with the buggy state that comes from being a part of an alpha, and that's the thing is no other company lets you play in an alpha. They might say, "Oh, come
No, they
join our
don't.
beta," but when they say beta, what they mean is the
It's
final
almost
wave.
done.
It's
This is a
basically
release candidate.
right. It's a release candidate that they're letting you play in just so you can generate more hype so they can make better sales. It's not
Usually
because you're
if-
actually a part of the testing or a part of shaping the development or improvement of the game.
And usually it's the safest sliver of the data that they can possibly give you. If you're playing into an alpha and a beta, it's all typically very, very, very linear. You're not really getting to explore the rest of it. You're not really getting to look at all the other stuff. You're getting to look at the things that they want you to see. They're trying to put their best foot forward. I've seen a lot of funny glitches. And I mean, sometimes they're just downright hilarious. Like my whole body was stretched multiple directions. But
Or that one person
And
that
then-
killed
and then he
a ship
logged
with his
in.
body.
oh yeah, there you go. So funny, ha 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 ha. But I mean, seriously though, I mean, you're getting to see the bugs too, and you're getting to see the development progress, and it's gotten better. I mean, I can say 100%, 110%. It's gotten better every single time. They let out a
Yep.
patch, new content comes up. There's a few bugs because they introduce new content. They get that hammered out. Patch, and smaller patches come out along the way with hot fixes and everything. They're getting better every single iteration of it. And as they go along, it's only going to get smoother and smoother. And I've been riding this for the rough part of maybe what, 2 years? December. Let's see. I think it's December 28th, 2014. I believe.
So about a year, like literally almost a year after me. Yeah.
And the
Because
thing-
I feel the same way, and it's been since December 22nd.
And the
2015.
thing is, I think one of the most impressive things to me is that, I've met people who just got involved in this game, and it's made such a huge impact. It's represented such a large opportunity that they've taken it and run. So you're not going to be at some huge disadvantage by coming in at this stage in development.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for instance, Captain Bane, he's a friend of ours. He came on the show
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
of weeks ago. He started a Star Citizen Lorecast where he does a full suite of voice acting, where he has people from the community come in and voice act for his stories, and he does a reading of in-character lore, and it is absolutely fantastic. He won Most Valuable Poster over at RSI and got official mention on one of their weekly broadcasts because they provide information to the community on a daily basis over every single week. We have so much transparency with this company, it's staggering. So I just don't hesitate, man. Just whenever you got the extra funds, come on over, join us. Come over to if you get on Facebook, go to Facebook/groups /Star Citizen RP1. That's the largest Star Citizen fan Facebook group around, and the community there is absolutely fantastic.
And we even have devs following it.
Yep, sure do.
And be sure, and I'm going to say this because I want you to know about it. I don't care who you send it to. If you want to, you can ask Mozart here about his referral code later. What that does is it gives you 5,000 UEC, which is basically in-game currency, at the game launch that you're actually able to use as an extra bonus.
Yep, that's pretty cool. But the main thing is even if you don't want to jump through those hoops, just check out the main official site, robertspaceindustriescom, and they'll have their free fly code posted right up on top. But he makes a good point. There's a free kickback if you use any player's referral code. So I always say go to your friend first, and if not, go to whoever referred you, whatever. But it helps out that player too, and is pretty cool. So, and then
Atmospheric flight. Sorry. Let it in. Got it.
Can't wait for it.
By the way, there's going to be atmospheric flight. We are going to have some special entry effects like that nice fire cone that you saw in the middle of the landing. And we finally have justification for all of Aegis' ships.
Yes. Other than they're sexy.
Well, the wings.
They're really, 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 really bump from their sexiness is justification enough. But
It's like
anyhow,
everything will be able to fly really well from the Aegis line except for the Redeemer. Poor thing.
yeah.
It's just
that
so
one's gonna just drop out of the sky.
say fuck it, I'm done.
I you know, I'm really excited about the different in atmosphere flight models. Mainly, what I'm excited about is seeing like the pockets of density change, because they had talked about
Great.
so that you actually have simulated turbulence. Um, I I'm also really interested because what I noticed in the Gamescom presentation that we didn't really see is whether or not there was a gravity that affected the ship. Because
That's
the part where
what
he
I'm
was
wanting.
when he was decoupled and drifting down at the same speed as the elevator on the outside, and he was doing barrel rolls while he drifted
I thought that was
alongside.
very
That was
nice.
it was super cool. But I think
You can
once your
dodge from that easily.
I think once your ship is in atmosphere, you probably would want to avoid that. But
Hmm.
but on the flip side of that, that was a planetoid. That wasn't a full size planet. So
Yeah,
there was no full
a lot less
atmosphere. So
gravity.
it would make sense that in those conditions, you would still probably be able to do some zero G esque kind of maneuvers.
Hmm.
But yeah,
I remember
I'm,
one
I'm
time, my experience in Elite actually helped with. I mean, there was no Atmo at the time, but
uh-huh.
however, with gravity, that's something you really do have to contend with, especially with a lot of the larger ships. And I remember, I'd end up doing crazy maneuvers like, I'm really, really dropping, and I'd point my ship directly upwards, and before I hit the ground, I'd bang on the boost and the thrusters,
Hmm.
and just pretty much scrape along. I wouldn't touch the ground, but the
nearly
end of the
killed
thrust,
yourself every
yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
sometimes it had to be that way. Because actually, imagine doing an attack on a planet that's it's like 17 times the mass of Earth, and it's a rocky world, and you have to do an actual flying around attack in a big, bulky, non-aerodynamic ship.
Yeah.
The
I'm
stuff you have to deal with when you're doing that, and actually, we pulled it off. We pulled it off perfectly. But the stuff you have to deal with,
I'm
good
I am
lord.
hoping that the
excited to see
gravity.
those kinds of challenges enter into a pilot's list of
Yeah,
experiences.
I want to see that Star Citizen style.
I'm really hoping that they actually have some of the planets that are just absolutely crushing,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
and like the other ones just almost be zero G, but just enough to kind of throw you off. Like,
Hmm.
hey, there's not any gravity here, and then you get out and you smack a mountain or something.
Well, it's like I remember playing old school games on like Sega and on DOS. Like what was it? Starflight was a game that you
Yep.
could play on Sega, and it was space exploration. You had a ship, you picked a crew on a little station, and you could send out a planetary lander once you landed on the planet. But you would scan the planet, and if you didn't pay attention to the mass and gravity and all that good stuff, you would come in and you might barely be able to stop your ship from smashing into the planet,
Yeah,
and by doing a full burn the whole way down, and
yeah, that's the kind of
sometimes you
stuff
might
I
even
had to do.
bounce.
Oh gosh,
And-
I've seen people bounce and then die, and they were like 22,000 light years away from any station. So yeah,
Bounce.
yeah, they
Ouch.
would just, and that was a wrap.
So okay, so here's
Civilized
one of
space
those.
station.
This is one of those funny things that I kind of caught an eye, and somebody on Facebook, I can't give credit because I can't remember who the hell said it. But why was it?
No, I'm kidding.
Why was an airlock needed when people were out at the landing pad in Delamar?
Who said that it was an Earth-like atmosphere?
Well, that's
If
true,
you,
but
it's
yeah,
but
not. It's
but
not. It's a
so
planetoid,
what?
so it doesn't have a breathable atmosphere.
But there are
Yes.
people outside without. Did you
Where?
were
see
there?
that? Yes,
No.
it's
Wait, there were
there.
people.
They're in the hangar though. They're in the hangar bay where you land.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
right when you get off,
Yeah.
there
Oh
they
well.
are,
Well,
and they
that's
don't
because
have a helmet
no,
on
no,
or
no,
nothing.
air shield, yo. Just like on the
I
Bengal.
was I was
Oh,
just
this is
wondering if that was what it was because I didn't see no force shield glowy effect
yeah.
around the
Although it was
freelancer
daytime.
when that.
That
Oh
may
wow.
not be in yet, but that don't mean it ain't there.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that the airlock is just a contingency in case they lose Atmo inside of the hangar bay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, I
Well, I mean,
just
if you
wanted to know what your opinion was.
Well, you don't want people getting that radiation tan from hanging out with the, the blast doors open.
Dude, that's a sick tan. You just step outside for 5 minutes, then you look like you came from Tahiti or something. You're good. Like some islander's gonna like kill my internet now. Like fuck you. Wrong name.
Ufa. Cafe Ufa. Stupid Haule.
God damn it. Here we go.
Let's wait for him to cut off.
I can swear at you in Tongan, Samoan.
Oh gosh.
Our ship door is going to be the bane of people, stranded because of shoddy landings. Go. It seemed like that would be the case if you were by yourself on that one situation.
What are you talking about? You're talking about like doors getting smashed on a poorly executed.
Oh no! You remember when you opened up the back of the hatch on the Freelancer?
Well, I think that'll be fixed by the climbing mechanic. There's the vaulting and the other
Right.
things.
Right.
And if you want to make it as realistic as they're talking about, if your arms reach or something, you should be able to actually climb up on it.
Right. Yeah.
So
And
hypothetical,
they
would you
didn't-
be able to?
They didn't have the 2.6 Star Marine stuff in
exactly.
in that build. So
Look,
That's
I
what
just
I was
continue.
wondering. I just wondered about that because the thing that came to my mind every time he was trying to get up into the Freelancer then was like, why don't you just use the side door with the ladder?
I think that when in the adrenaline of the moment, as obvious as that would seem to anyone watching it, they just didn't think about it.
Gotta go. Come on, everybody's watching me. Gotta go. I can see that.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
totally.
I
can see
will.
that.
I will say this though, and going back to like that whole scenario where they jumped the dragonfly out of the back of the Freelancer. You know what that got me all hard about is back to our original conversation at the beginning of the show where we talked about first wave gold rush exploration. My original goal was I wanted to have a Freelancer Miz with all the extra missiles because I didn't care about the cargo space, and I wanted to load it up with all the equipment from the Duration so that it would have the longer distance, the scanners and things like that, because I figured that would be a ship I could solo and and play the role of being that solo exploration person to try to hunt down. I figured it would be the biggest ship that could fit through the smallest jump point, although that's still up in the air now. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And plus, like, obviously my day one plans have changed now that I'm responsible for something larger. But but back when it was just me, myself, and I wanted to do the Freelancer Duration gear on a Freelancer Miz, so I'd have a little more combat capability should I need it, And now, can you imagine taking that and throwing being able to put a dragonfly in the back? I don't know if it would fit with the missiles, but that's kind of like in the same way that people, the Carrack has a snub fighter and it has a rover and it's supposed to be this great exploration ship. But you look at the Aquila. The Aquila's like basically has the same rover, an roughly equivalent snub fighter ship, still has a powerful armament, and it's in a much smaller package. So
see, that's why I like it. Imagine
Right?
you have the snow fighter, and that's the thing. I love options when I come down.
Yeah.
I can fly around in the Merlin.
Uh-huh.
I can rove around in the Rover, or if I have room in the cargo bay, I can have the Dragonfly also.
Right.
I have all these crazy options, especially when we're going through like forest planets and things like that. And I really don't want the Rover getting stuck in between trees and stuff like that.
Right. It might be better to have a Connie that has a pair of dragonflies parked instead of the rover.
Exactly.
Because then you can split up.
You can shoot at Ewoks.
Yes. To blow them to bits.
I guess my question was I wanted to know whether or not, I mean, of course we don't know because we haven't seen the refactor of the Freelancer series for the variants, but I can imagine I want to be able to put a dragonfly in the back of a Freelancer Miz.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if it'll work because that's where the reason it has less cargo space is because it has the missile reload.
I shoot you lots
within,
many times, and you're going to die now.
So many
Speaking of that, I really want dumbfires on more ships than just the Delta.
Yeah,
although the
that'll
Delta
be
is
fun.
perfect for what I want to do because it's agile. And you can sneak through. It can fly really low and maneuver really well. It's the perfect attack chopper.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of funny that you said that because I was just telling somebody that I think it was Travis I said, it's the Apache helicopter of Star Citizen. Is the
That's
Delta.
exactly how I want to use it.
Beautiful.
Yep.
So again, I was naysayed. There was someone, yeah, there'll be no ground target. I said, what? First off, this is after it was announced that we were going to have whole planets. Second off, people landing, staying there, will be ground targets, and for various reasons. Heck, they're supposed to be treasure hunting with ancient ruins and things like that. Imagine if they're on their way and you don't want them to discover what you found, and you can just dumbfire them.
And I know they
that's
talked
a wrap
about.
for them.
I know they talked about Star Citizen not having like the parkour kind of gameplay, but I mean, come on, man, why can't we have some Tomb Raider action?
That's what I
that's the Hades system, actually. That is the Hades system, and every single thing in that system is dead and is open for exploration. It's exploration science, sci-fi paradise.
Right.
It's that whole system.
Like I mean, it'd be interesting if you could, if while you were not wearing armor at all, if you took the training, you might have, more options like that. Not that every player is running around being, frickin',
Indiana Jones.
As an assassin, I would jump around like that.
Right. Like, I mean,
I kind of need that. That's why I prefer light armor. I just
like some sort of like Shaolin-esque style. Xeon monk goes and trains you for like 10 years, and he's like, you weak human, just chanting it over in your head.
And if
your chairman, they talk about bonding martial arts.
Yeah, if your character dies, then that skill doesn't carry over. Because that's true. Yeah. They had talked about trying to develop some kind of high quality, in-game combat, martial arts combat systems. So it'll be interesting to see if they can do that.
I'd really love that, especially because I'd like fights to be more not just I have the super fist of death and my DPS isn't no.
And I have
I'd like to be able to block. Exactly. But I'd like to be able to block and they mentioned disarming is going to be a thing too.
Right.
So if you're someone that's close range and they start reaching for their waist and and they don't get the gun up in time, you can actually deal with that. And same with knives and such like that. I'd love to see all that.
My martial arts instructor always used to tell me there is no greater martial art than the martial art of kapow. It just solves things from a distance. Yep, you're Bruce Lee dead.
Yep. I remember someone else saying that was a martial arts instructor.
So Mozart,
yes.
When we were talking about like real world things, you talked about being a music producer and a score composer. How does that color your impressions on like Star Citizen's development cycle and their marketing model?
Well, that's actually most of the reason why I am a backer. I mean, I really, really love the concept, and I really, really love space games and all, but it's way, way deeper than that. And honestly, looking at the way that they've done business, looking at the way that they've treated their customers, and looking at the fact that also they're not afraid to expand their horizons and also push the boundaries, because in my industry it's a whole lot of baloney right now. See, and one of the reasons why I moved to scoring is because there's a lot less of that particular brand of baloney. There's still baloney. There's Hollywood baloney, and I can deal with that way better than I can deal with rappers and singers. But and not all of them are bad. Yeah, exactly. And not all of them are bad, but just the way that they do business is like the opposite of the industry.
Right.
And that's what I want to do. That's honestly most of what I'm doing is to build up a business that runs counter to the way the industry runs. Because you look at things like the way Netflix operates, for example. Mm-hmm. You have all these dinosaurs in our industry, in the music industry and in the movie industry. And these people are afraid of the internet. They sit there and they make laws against the internet. They sit there and they try to shut down various companies doing this, and that, and the other. And you have Netflix, who watches torrents to see what's hot, who've been cited to watch torrents to see what's hot. It's the total opposite of how the industry runs, and so many different things. And also the fact that they get to deal with their customers directly. Their likes are shown. It's like, oh, I clicked on this and watched this. Oh, you must like this. Right. And it's really, the industry's really bad at dealing with people, especially
just dealing with
the higher up you get. Oh yeah, no, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah,
little weird story about me, and most of the stories are weird, I'm sure. But
Only
I
the true
live close to the
ones.
Big Muddy, Memphis, Tennessee,
Hmm.
and I got to meet one of the local. And I know you said that you don't like rappers, but I
Hmm.
got to meet one
Well, I
who
still have to
actually
do
was
it,
in an
but yeah.
IT field. He's in the IT field, and
Hmm.
he's also a rapper. And he was
Hmm.
telling me about it. He's like, Jeremy, the media, the old method that I had to do it is dead. He
Yeah,
said, if you want
absolutely.
to actually become something in the music industry these days, you have the biggest platform sitting in your living room right now.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have access to the internet, YouTube. Everybody is able. If you just made a YouTube channel and you just churned out music after music after music that you would eventually make, and you like this is the insight from a person that is a rapper. So I'm sitting there like
Yeah.
you hear the stereotypes, you hear the things, and you say to yourself, well, rappers are sometimes not intelligent, or maybe they make poor
Yeah.
life decisions.
No,
This
and it's
guy's
really, it
he's really
depends on.
solid.
Yeah, yeah, and I've met a lot of those too, and that's one of the things too is that even in the early 2000s, you dealt with rappers and everyone sounded different. As of now, everyone sounds the same, and that's having to deal
Oh yeah,
directly with people. And coming going to LA was actually one of the best experiences, including with a rapper, because I was actually working with the game, and um and he was recording a new album. I was pretty much in the studio with him for like 12 hours a day for a straight week. And what he would do, he was first off he didn't slack off in the studio ever. In fact, if he did fall asleep, it was while me and my cousin, who was another producer, were working. And he'd wake up out of a dead sleep and lay a verse down beautifully,
yeah.
delivery and all. And it was amazing to actually work. And actually, that's one thing I do love about California, because it's entirely different from Maryland and DC, and they are the artist work ethic, and even Atlanta. And Atlanta's not too bad, but Atlanta's kind of oversaturated at the moment. But yeah, it the attitude's different over there. But yeah, as far as the whole industry goes, the dinosaurs that are running the major labels, yeah, dinosaurs is their proper name. It's so horrible. And the thing I look at what back to Star Citizen, I look at what Chris is doing. Chris is operating completely different from the dinosaurs of the gaming industry. And that's one thing I've had because I have a bone to pick with the way most entertainment is run. Because yes, it's a business, but also you still have customers that you have to treat right and care about your product. And I see Star Citizen, I see CIG really, really, really concerned with the quality of their product
Oh
and how
yeah.
people receive it. And it's you don't see that now. In fact, I see a lot of people today, artists, singers too, like, oh man, well, I don't have to do X, Y, and Z because hey, you have Melodyne working for you, so you learn
Uh,
nothing about your craft. And and
wow.
so these people are sitting there like, man, I could just make a song and say one thing, and if I get paid for it, or whatever. No, half of the reason why, and one of the reasons I've been classically trained, and actually I've been a musician since childhood. I
Right.
was a drummer first, in fact. I'm a
Hey, that
percussionist.
sounds familiar.
I picked up my first set of drums when I was 2, and then I moved on to the piano and the violin and the bass and other things and the timpanis,
Nice.
more percussion. But
Thank you, sir.
but anyhow, I look at these people that don't give a rat's about their craft, and it's so sad to me. It's so
But
refreshing.
that's the industries that okay. So
Yeah.
I was looking at it one time, and it was a I want to say it was a Pinterest, one of the little pinups that they do, and it was just a musical formula chart to make a hit.
Yeah.
And I think and I look at EA and I look at Sony and I look
They
at
do the same
all
thing with
these they
games.
do yeah they're making games to a formula. It has gotten down
Yeah.
to the point that there's nobody that's willing to take a risk. There's nobody that's willing to break the mold.
Hmm.
I hate to use these cliche things, but these cliche things exist for a reason. They have made a mold out of the gaming industry in general. I
Yeah.
look at the console shelves all the time and I'm like, these look like they're going to be a lot of fun, but I know what these are. These are
Hmm.
intended to entice me, to make me, I'll sit there and I'll watch a video game commercial and I've gotten everything that I'll ever get out of the video game
In
commercials
the
sometimes
commercial,
because
yeah.
because it's that's it. They're showing you the best of it right then and there, and then
Exactly.
there's nothing else.
Exactly.
And I mean, there's so very few games that actually engross me anymore.
Yeah.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I still go back and I play that. Why? Because it's just a simple, fun game with tons of little items, tons of little Easter eggs, half of
Sure.
the stuff you'll never ever need in the game. But the guy who developed the game said, I wanted to have replayability. And so
Yeah,
that was one of the big
yeah,
things that he made happen.
yeah. The things you care
And
about, and see,
eh,
that's exactly how I want to run, and the reason why I do the things that I do. And also, I was gonna say as an aside that's minorly related, uh, the the reason why I went into hip hop, even though because I was talking about how I learned all that stuff in the past,
Uh-huh.
and you'd say, "Oh, why would you go into that genre?" A,
it's not really that
because I can do it
bad.
well, and exactly. And the one thing I wanted to be in the genre as a validator, like, look, we're not all what you think we are.
Right.
We don't do what you think we do. In fact, one of the things is I like the fact that I can actually, because of the skill set that I have, can actually put orchestra music into it. That's one of the reasons why I like Rick Ross's old stuff that he wore when he worked with the Justice League, because they actually had orchestras come in for said
But
rap songs
you
and
hear
kill
it
it. And that's
all the time, though, and I can
yeah,
understand where people get this stereotype. You're going to go
yeah,
and add an xylophone or a glockenspiel bell effect, and then you're going to go
yeah,
in and throw a phaser on it, and it's going to have a little wobble, so you're going to go and put some modulation on it.
yeah,
You're going to have that one thing, and then you're going to have like a heavy, deep, super low wave pass sub going, and then you're just going to say some words like chicken and biscuits over and over and over,
yeah.
and that will
And,
make a
and
damn
it's
hit
not,
today.
yeah, and it's not all, yeah,
It's
exactly. And that's
like,
why I want to
what?
prove that it's not all
What?
that. And that's exactly why I like to do both. It's like here's this guy who's sitting there doing scores and stuff like that who can actually compose legit.
I
And
I
at the same
just
time, I'm over
So
there too.
so
And that's what I like about Chris. He's not like he's trying to validate PC gaming for one,
right.
and that was his original goal from the start. And he really wants to show, hey, we're awesome. See,
it's inspiring. He's
exactly.
showing that you can do it a smarter way. You know.
Exactly, and
You
that's
know.
one of the things he really helped me a while back because I saw you can run a business honestly. You
Hmm.
can run a business without saying, "Hey, man, this is just all profit." And I don't give a care about any of my customers. Next, wise, like he's the opposite. Now I said, yes, finally, I have a role model out there that actually runs a business the way I've been planning to
Yeah.
run a business the
No.
entire time.
Well, it
And
helps that
I
he's
hear it.
produced
You know.
movies and
Oh
other
yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean,
And then that's the
he
thing. That's
is
why I've had to do the scoring thing too, because the big money comes and I can actually build up stuff
right.
with those checks.
I mean, Chris is kind of the perfect storm of ability and history and
Exactly.
yes.
and drive and all that, and and then meeting that with the crowdfunding has definitely been ideal. I mean, I
Hmm.
know that I'd always wanted to see my vision realized as far as gaming, and I knew that the only way that would happen is if I could externally generate enough wealth to like buy a game company and say make this, because that's the only way, because you want to have that creative control at the very highest level.
Exactly,
and uh,
exactly. That's
and
why
he
I'm
was
working
brilliant
towards a media
because
company
yeah,
for
and
that
he was
very
brilliant.
reason.
He was brilliant to use like Kickstarter, and plus he's already got the history and the decades of experience and the reputation.
Exactly,
So it,
And
and
he's
that's
exactly.
also
why
a
I'm so
movie
strong.
director on top of that. So I mean,
Yes.
he already knows how to tell a great story from beginning to end.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and
Hmm.
that's exactly why I'm so strongly behind his what he's done. But
Same.
anyhow, Captain Mozart. The thing with that is like you talk about scoring and everything, and I know last we talked, you had talked to me about running a creative contest within the Star Citizen community, man.
Yes,
I mean, now's the perfect time to pitch it. Like it sounded
absolutely.
great to me, and now we may not have a whole lot of people watching us live, but this goes up on YouTube, so people will come back and catch it in the days following, and hopefully it'll
Hmm.
build a little hype, a little buzz. So hey, fill us in. Let's see what kind of hype seed we can get going, man.
Hmm. Well, I was thinking about running a contest where 'cause I see all these content creators, and I actually see a whole lot of people
Uh huh.
who have gameplay video, and that's really all that's required. There are people with gameplay videos. There are people who add music to their videos. There are people who've done cinematic experiences, and people who've just done like I just see a whole lot of content creators out there, and I'm like, I want to make a contest, and I want to include them, and also just really anybody that can record their that can record their gameplay and can edit a little bit.
Right.
But and really the requirement is that I've made a score,
Uh huh.
and you do a video to it, and the score will be a set amount of time. You can't loop the score or anything like that. Oh well, no, maybe.
Right.
The only rule is that you use the score to the thing and you keep it within a certain time limit.
Right.
And the and it can be anything. It can be your experience. It can be whatever the music makes you feel, or whatever you feel would be a perfect background video for that music. And you the winner, first place, gets a consolation.
Ooh.
and the
So
second
you're
place gets
not.
When you want it.
I just want to put this out there for those that are listening. So you're not playing small fry, small change here.
no,
This is a serious undertaking. You are putting together a
yes,
contest that the entry doesn't require you to be an expert. This is actually a contest more for like younger video editors, but it
yeah.
is not a contest to be treated flippantly. It's meant to
Mm.
take a little effort, a little bit of time.
So
So
let Vadran ask a really dumb question so that nobody else has to. You ready?
Oh,
Can
go
more
ahead.
than one people enter?
You said what?
Can more than one person enter as a team?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But you're gonna have
There's
to deal with divvying up the the
hang on.
consolation.
Okay. So hang on. Next question. So what would be the second and third place prizes if possible?
That's exactly what I was about to get into next. Oh, and
Glad
before I
I
say
asked,
that,
Vadran.
before I get into that, um, also I took this to CIG when I visited their offices during my trip to
nice,
LA,
nice.
and they're behind it. I remember when I talked about it to, I think it was a QA guy that I talked to first, and his face lit up, and then he ran off and took me to Ben.
To
And that's
Ben.
actually that's when I got to meet Ben, and Ben is fully behind it. And also, as nice as he is, he's going to provide a dragonfly as the third place prize,
Very
Nice.
because
nice.
I didn't want to. I was talking about how I was going to give up one of mine, and how I was kind of sad too, because I know it wasn't going to be on sale for a little while, and I didn't want to.
Split up for your pay.
Yeah, I really wanted
Yeah.
to keep my set, and I was kind of, and see, I didn't ask. Ben saw me hesitant about splitting up my set of dragonflies, and he said, "Well, we can provide one." And I said,
That's
"Oh, thank
awesome.
you."
See,
So
again, like
second
I
place is
love
an
that
Avenger.
CIG is willing to step in and
Nice.
help. They're just good all the way around, man.
Yeah, and so I have the company support with this contest too,
So
and
is there
I'm
a time
actually
limit on the music?
um let's
1 minute,
see,
2 minute,
it's
3 minute,
probably gonna
10 minute.
I think
be
those
like
details will
7.
come.
Yeah, and
Ah,
see,
it's gonna
CIG
be.
originally
Uh huh.
they were like, "Why don't you do a 10-minute piece?" I'm like,
Oh man,
eh,
man,
I
that's
could.
hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have to Hans Zimmer it up. I'd have to sit there and
Right.
make all
That
these
might.
crazy transitions. And I mean, I could do that, but I'm still I have a few pieces in mind already. In fact, I've sent Trash one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
actually, have I sent you more than one?
Just the one.
Okay. Well, yeah,
I
and I have a
wasn't
few
sure if
pieces
that
in
was
mind,
like what you were going with, or if that was just
but
more of a.
that was
This is
just showing
the
what I can do.
vein. Gotcha. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, but yeah, and like I said, they were talking around 10, and I was thinking around 5, so I might compromise and say like 7 or so.
So
But
you're providing the score or
yes, I
somebody
am.
else?
I'm
Okay.
providing the score, and it will
Okay.
be fully composed by me,
Very nice.
and I'll
What
also have it professionally mixed and everything. So
now and you had talked about having some ideas about the judges, um,
yeah,
and
I'd like to have you wanna go into it, or should I?
go for it. Yeah. No. Break it
I
down.
was saying, I'd like to actually go and talk to Board Gamer and Fiendish Feather, because I know it'd probably be unfair if Fiendish entered the contest. I've
have you
seen his work.
have you had a chance to talk to them? Because I mean, if not, I mean,
Um,
I
Not
board,
yet.
board
I
has
actually
been on
was.
our channel a couple of times, and he has
Yeah,
been a strong supporter of the community. I
yeah,
have I know him personally, and I have no doubt in my mind that he would love to be a part of getting to be a judge in that. I don't know
yeah,
Fiendish Feather personally, so
yeah.
you'll
Although
be
we
on
can
your
we
own
can
reaching
hit
out to
him up
him. But
on Twitter. I'll probably hit him up on Twitter or Reddit. But either way, it shouldn't be too hard. And also, I was thinking about having Ben also, but I know it'd be you and I.
right, yeah, that'd
So
be
yeah,
fantastic.
because I
And
definitely want to have some
you
community movers
you
and
may
shakers as
and
the judges.
you may consider like not to put you on the spot about picking judges, but
He's fine with that. He's fine
Vadran's
too. He
a
actually
music guy, so
exactly.
he'll
I'm fine.
talk
I was thinking
your
that.
Take a look
see.
at that when you get a time.
Alrighty. But yeah, I was thinking about it. Oh, and have
Right
you heard the piece that I sent to Trash?
No, I have
on.
not actually. I'm swapping the music out that I've sent you for the show, and some of it's part piecemeal and ideas and such, but other parts are actually full.
So
Yeah.
one last question that for any of the community that are listening in. So what kind of like once you solidify the rules to your contest, where do you want to post it, and what venue do you want to have this hosted in? Um, because like, you know, I'd kicked around the idea with Bootio Hunter, my sweetheart, and she was, you know, she had pointed out that, like, you know, if we're doing this as something to expand the community, we need to pick a venue so that way all entries are coming to the same place.
Yeah.
Like either we can
Yeah.
we can publicize it in multiple venues. We can publicize it on you know, our Facebook group, on the Reddit, on CIG.
See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of like definitely multiple venues,
but how do you want them to deliver those files? I mean, are they going to have to Dropbox them to a specific
oh, for
email?
for that, they can actually they can upload it to YouTube and they can make it like shareable with, I guess, just me, or yeah, make it like a private that you, because can't you share private videos on YouTube?
Yeah,
I
you
believe
can.
so,
Yeah. So
Just share the
yeah,
link.
just exactly, just do a YouTube link. It's actually Elite Dangerous did something like this. It was the Control Alt Space contest.
Right. I mean, because I mean, if this is going to be a big deal, I mean, you have the power to use that to push additional members and things like that. So, you know, I mean, if that helps us, that's fantastic.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
You know,
I'd like it to be on behalf of the Ready Player One group too.
Nice. And
that I do the contest.
And I appreciate that. Like, I've always believed in letting it kind of grow organically. So, like, when she had mentioned that to me, I was like, well, I don't really care if it's specifically for us, because I want to see it happen. And you know, I'm going to support him either way, whether it's about Ready Player One or if it's about just Star Citizen in general. So, I mean, you have my backing, but it does make me super happy to hear, you know, content creators, citizens, backers, you know, have such love for, you know, this little project that I've been care tending for so long.
I was about to say, if you get the chance, go find my first post. I haven't made too many by myself posts on the group.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to find it pretty easily, and I still feel the same way about the group.
Right on, man. Right on.
I opened when I'd been in the group for a little while, but my first actual post was a compliment towards the group and its members.
Yeah. Well, and that makes me happy, because I mean, obviously we're going to have a variety of people, and you're always going to have opinions that differ. But I think mostly we have some pretty good social accountability, and people tend to self-moderate. You know, it's always been my policy to let people have more rope rather than less.
You
know,
I've seen some crazy comment sections on the internet, and this has actually been this group has been on the more sensible side.
And I'm glad, because, you know, I mean, who wants to dig through trash when you're
foolishness?
just trying to have a good time?
So I can just make that my Facebook feed and leave it there.
I know if it wasn't for that functionality, I would have left Facebook a long time ago, because I have no patience for Facebook. But when you can just click into your favorite subject matter and that's all you get, it's amazing.
Yes, I prefer that. But yeah, I definitely, like I said, I want to do it on behalf of the group. I want it to be hosted by the group, and I was even thinking about like I discussed before, having a new video logo.
Nice.
And I actually got done speaking to the maker recently, and so I can get with you later on about actually what you want an animated logo to go in the front of you. And that's the thing. Also, one other rule is that I have a set of logos, only two, and that would go on the front of the video beforehand, and they'd be, like I said, a couple seconds long each.
Right.
And that would be it. Kind of like how the Star Citizen logo happens.
Right. Yeah. When you're, I know exactly what you're talking about. So, I mean, I'm kind of glad that you've asked me to be a judge, because then otherwise I would really want to participate in the contest, and I am a complete noob, so that would involve having to set aside time to learn it.
Well, come on, Trav.
And I do. I have some other ideas that, like, you and I have talked about what we need to do for Station42, and I haven't even touched any of that yet. So I'm like, anyway, but So anyway,
so I'm down to help. That's how I feel, and I told CIG that too.
Yeah,
I'm down to help them with whatever, because this is my area of expertise, and so giving what I have for a cause that I really like is no problem for me at all.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Like, I'm in an interesting place. Like, I'm so close to Austin, but still so far away. I would love to, like, be a part of the team down there, but signed into a couple of years up here, and it's not in the cards right now. But man, I just, I mean, I guess I do support the community, and I mean that's what the Facebook group is about. That's what this show right here is
I'm about
about.
to say you
Hello.
guess you support
Yeah,
the community.
yeah, I know.
You have this
We
huge
kind of
All right,
do.
well, I'm trying to be modest, man.
I a little bit. I know maybe 2-3 people that yeah.
All right, well, fair enough. All right. So I support the community,
There you
but I
go.
do so in an unofficial capacity. So I don't really, know that qualifies in an official way. But hopefully at some point I'll be able to find some way that I can, I don't know, be of use to them. So,
Hmm.
anyways,
See, that's the one
but
good thing about my job. I can actually move around a lot because
nice.
I have to travel for work. That's why when they did that conversation about why would anybody want a mobile rig, I'm like, first off, if you knew the kind of well, and I'm sure our other resident musician can appreciate
Right.
the plugins that I run
Yes.
all at once would melt other people's computers, and I know you can confirm this.
Yes.
I used to do music, and other producers would come into the room, and they would just sit there with the slack jawed, open mouth, surprise face when they saw the kind of stuff I was running all at the
All
same
I've got to
time.
do,
Nice.
is just load massive, and my computer says, "I hate you, die."
And see, that's why I had to build a computer specifically for work, and then I had to get
Right.
a really powerful laptop because scoring is a whole nother. That's a whole nother thing.
Well,
With
it's one of those things like most people will throw a lot of RAM in a system because it sounds
yeah,
good, but it's not necessary. It's not
yeah,
necessary unless you're recording or doing other kinds of
Music or
content editing.
video, get
Yup,
yeah.
memory.
yup.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that's the thing. I had to switch to a program that actually, or a few programs. I needed something that supports 64-bit because I can't just use 4 gigs of RAM for what I'm doing
Nah,
because,
no.
especially just Hollywood Strings by itself eats away. Much less, imagine if I'm recording an orchestra and I've got all these ridiculous amount of tracks and everything. Even once it's done recording, I have to sit there and mix things and
And process
good
it, right?
Lord, yeah,
I mean, it's
yes,
going to take
exactly, all
forever
at
if you
once.
do it. And so I've been arguing this point with a friend of mine because I told him, it's like, I'd like to really step up my game with music. And he goes and he has pre-made some of the builds in the computers before for me. And he always gives me 16 gigs. The first thing I do is go to 32 because I know what I'm going to be doing with it on the side.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. One thing I really love is with my job, I got to build this supercomputer, and I know that I could run Star Citizen on it. Speaking of which, I actually found a workstation keyboard for music that can also run Star Citizen.
Damn.
Nice.
Think about that for a second.
There's Board Gamer. Speaking of board, he did a whole series on putting together bargain Star Citizen capable computers using
Yeah,
server boards picked up
yeah, I
off
saw
of
that.
Yep.
eBay and like
Dell
various-
3200s.
yeah.
There's-
So
yeah.
I and that's pretty interesting. Like I wouldn't mind like setting up a few extras like that just to have in the house for friends over, but but that's down the road. So
Hmm.
so moving forward, man. What kind of games do you favor most? What are you playing right now besides Star Citizen, if anything?
Um, I really love this new resurgence of the space genre because honestly, that's why I found Star Citizen.
Yeah.
I've been always wanting, and see, a bit of background. You remember the Infinity thing, the I Novate project?
Uh, I think I might have missed that.
They just put out their new Kickstarter, and it was pretty successful. And funny enough, they talked a little bit of they didn't necessarily believe that things could really grow the way it did in Star Citizen, especially the technology. And I got to give it to them; they're actually great at the procedure generation game. But anyhow, that before I had ever heard about Star Citizen, their original vision was like Star Citizen, and most people don't know that because they try to bury that as deep as possible. And they say, "Oh no, we're just a simple one system skirmish game." No, beforehand it was walk to your ship, it was get in your ship, it was go
Right.
down to the planet from the ship that you walk to. It was no
Right.
load screens. It was pretty much what Star Citizen is now, and what they're planning to do. That was their original vision. In fact, it's
Ah.
difficult, but I've actually found some of the old design documents online because at first I was like, when did their vision? When they first came up with the new Kickstarter, I was like, when did the vision shrink? I remember this engine. I remember looking at it intently, but
Right.
their marketing wasn't really on point, which was the main problem. If they had Sandy or somebody, they might be a
It might
super
have been
thing right now.
right.
But yeah, literally they had the same vision. Honestly, I really love space games. I still love Mass Effect. I still play number 3, And one of the things I love about the multiplayer
Do you ever,
is that
but have you ever played Star Control 2?
I have not.
Urquan Masters on DOS.
No. See, I
You
used to
can.
play DOS games though, but I
You
don't
should.
remember any of the titles. It was
You
so
should.
long ago.
It's free. It's DRM free now, and you can get the HD version of it with voiceovers and stuff.
Oh
Um,
wow.
called it's called Urquan Masters HD, and you can find it like for download on one of the download sites.
I was about to say,
It's,
send me
it's,
the
it's a
Abandonia.
super super classic, but super epic. It is really fantastic.
Hey, like I said, shoot me a link after all this is done.
Right on.
But yeah, like I said, space games I really love, and like I said, the reason why I love Mass Effect is because of it was the lore.
Yeah.
I'm a lore junkie, and I'm
Oh, yeah.
also, for the most part, when I get into any new lore, I'm also a lore dictionary,
Mhm.
and that includes for Star Citizen. I'm one of
Well,
those.
I'll
people,
test
man.
that one in a minute.
Oh gosh, and so but yeah, no, I'm usually all up in all the lore pieces, and also because they built the short stories to be like the to actually mimic the gameplay, and they were and Dave talked about how he was careful when he was writing because he didn't want to just have impossible things in the stories,
Right.
which is really really encouraging when you read the stories.
Yeah.
But one of the things I loved about Mass Effect was the lore, and the reason why I like Star Citizen so much, again, back to it, I can't not go back to it,
Right.
but is that you actually get to see all that in action. And in Mass Effect, you have a whole lot of history, a whole lot of history that you'll never get to see really too much of it because of the nature of the game. And I don't begrudge them that, especially since they were a console game, and B, you're dealing with EA wanting to push something out.
Poor console peasants. No, I'm joking.
See, I wasn't gonna go there, but
I'll take
but yeah, it was the lore, and I really do love games with extensive lore, and also again the space games. I also play Elite for the same reason, although they're kind of casting their lore aside right now, and
Oh, that's a bummer.
they've kind of pulled the Star Wars extended universe issue with their thing too, especially in the how they released the aliens. They've kind of thrown all the lore away, which is kind of sad because my faction in the game is we also have we play a big role with the aliens, and we were actually the ones that made peace with them, but that's all been thrown aside now for in favor of, well, let's see how the community reacts to them now, and I'm pretty sure people are just going to roll up and shoot them all, and we're going to go to war, and I'm pretty sure that's where we're going, and also yeah, no, but I still do enjoy playing it, and also really what I really enjoy playing, the reason why I really enjoy playing it is because of friends. When you're playing with people, it's an entirely different game. When you have your goals that your group specifically has, and you really are good at getting into things,
Yep.
it's entirely different than if you're just alone and you have billions of stars and you're wondering, what the heck direction do I go? Yeah, having friends in that is a completely different thing in running. And the only thing I hate is that they don't have support for running missions as a wing.
Yeah.
Like you can't, and that's one thing you asked what I really want in Star Citizen, and one thing that I didn't see in the demo, I want my friend and I to be able to take the mission together.
Yeah.
He's with me, and we're going to go attack that base, or we're going to go move that cargo. Me, my friend, the other cargo person back there, and yeah, no, I want us to be able to take missions as a group of people.
Right. No, I can agree with that, because like when I've tried EVE Online way back in the beginning, before the very first graphics overhaul patch.
Oh yeah.
I played it, and then there was really kind of a shitty chat, and there was no voice cons at the time. It was kind of crappy in-game controls and as far as grouping, and I finally got my buddy to get it with me, and we started playing together. And I remember going out on a mission where I was like, all right, I'll fly the destroyer and you fly a fighter as escort, and we'll do this mission. And flying together netted us no extra gain, and if anything, it was actually harder. And I was like, what is this? This sucks. And of course,
that's
that was
what
just,
Elite has to deal with at the moment.
Yeah,
exactly that problem.
Yeah, it was just PvE content at the time. Like we hadn't gotten down to low sec yet. But it turned me off, and I was like, because I couldn't group and I couldn't get that grouping gameplay, I was like, well, I'm done. and I just walked away from it. I never really came back to it. So I can see where you'd be frustrated with Elite. I mean,
Yeah,
there are
and see,
things about
I can
Elite that
still
appeal
do it
to me,
because we
but
have our own
yeah,
like friendly goals that are just us. Like, in
yeah.
fact, one day we decided to be terrorists in the verse, and go bomb the crap out of out of bases that there were actually not bases but actual starports, because bases are okay, but
Yep.
and they're much more of a challenge after this new update. They have all kind of air support. Before, when they first introduced base attacks, there was no air support. You
Uh-huh.
just dumbfired the turrets and that was a wrap. And most people didn't even know you could dumbfire the turrets. I just figured, hey, I have lots of explosives. Let's use them. Other people were like, oh, I'm having trouble. I'm just shooting. I'm like, are you lasering turrets on the ground? And the stuff we get into, like, we attacked the starport, and it was a completely different experience than attacking a base, especially since, well, there weren't police at the time, but there were NPCs flying around,
Uh-huh.
and also they had cluster missiles that would come up out the ground, and I'd be chased. I actually have this on video. I was chased by a pack of them. My friend comes in a really small light ship with fixed weapons, lasers, and shoots them off my tail. Every single one of them. It was beautiful. And he didn't even know if that was possible. He was like, wait, let me see if I can shoot him off. This guy with his ridiculously perfect aim goes and knocks each of them off. No gimbals, and you can't target missiles anyway. But he goes and knocks each of them off with fixed weapons, and cluster missiles like to weave and bob.
Right.
Even they work exactly like the Rattlers do in Star Citizen, just just a
I
lot more
love
accurate.
Rattlers.
Oh, so do I. I
They're
love the
so
fact that you
pretty.
can fill someone's screen with notifications, and
Uh-huh.
everybody always asks, "How many missiles did you fire at me?" I'm like,
I
4.
yeah,
Just one, Vic.
we actually we had somebody post a video who was like, this guy was hacking, like
Yeah,
what,
I
I'm like,
remember
no,
that.
and I remember
yeah,
watching it and I was like, hey man, I
he
mean,
just has
like
rattlers.
I think you I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Rattler is like it's one missile that breaks off into like 8 miniature missiles, like so
Yep.
that
Cluster
I
bomb.
love
might
I love
explain it.
having to hit people with all of them.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember I had the best luck, and I was like, my friend was behind me, and I was like, look at this. And so I go and I fire off some rattlers, and they go past the target, and then they all turn around and spread out like a flower, and then they all meet in the middle. And when they met in the middle, it was a bright flash that filled the entire screen, and my friend was impressed.
Yep.
I was impressed. I'd never seen it, but yeah, when they all hit it once, I love the fact that the explosion compounds, and so you have this screen filling white flash that happens. I
Yeah.
didn't know that that was a thing. 'Cause I was used to just them either missing or like one or two of them hitting, and then the rest going off to attack all your friends,
Nice.
which I can't stand about rattlers. I remember although and sometimes people use that to try, especially if they try to grief in Arena Commander. There are a couple of people who, and not the versus mode, mind you, but the Vandal Swarm. Some people actually decide, hey, I'm gonna attack the other person, and sometimes they'll actually end up using rattlers to attack you, and you'll be like, and you'll think, okay, maybe it's just an accident, but one time actually, and see, usually I consider an accident because I'm not afraid of rattlers, never have been. I know how to deal with them, but one time a guy actually did end up firing, and then it was confirmed when there were no Vandal left, and he decided to lock on and fire all in a saber, which has more missiles than my little Avenger. And then he started firing broadswords at me. But people kind of use that to, oh, it was just an accident, and really they're that kind of person. Although, needless to say, I wrote his name down in my old friends list, and then found the instance he was in later on in the universe where he was harassing more people and destroyed them repeatedly. That's the other thing I like, the person of interest system.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm?
so just any favorite game mechanics from other games that you wish we could see in Star Citizen? Anything that you'd take from another game and paste it in?
Yeah.
Not that wouldn't make people angry.
Well, no, I mean, but that's still fair. I mean, like, Star Citizen already has so much. Like, I mean, is there anything you'd like to see? Because I like, for instance, I know like Tony Z was talking about how well, mechanics of dealing with NPCs is not going to get to the point where it feels like The Sims in space. But there are some people that would enjoy that. I mean, I mean, why not have really in depth NPC characters that you can interact with and build maybe relationships with, or those kinds of things, or what about basically that's just
Are
an
you looking
example,
for full-bodied Xeon women? We'll come down to Hanks.
but yeah, okay. No, but it's but I mean, like, the question does bear a serious thing. I mean, can you think of anything from other? I mean, one popular answer is crafting. You know, because I mean we have
Yeah.
overclocking, we have manufacturing, but we don't have any kind
Like
of
true crafting.
right. So it's not
Yeah,
like we're gonna
that
be
that's definitely one.
yeah.
If
Although
we get
I
that, I hope it's hard as shit.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say. Let it be challenging though.
I want it to be like you're completely novice at it. Like there's no skill button or anything, and like you actually have to do the mouse clicks and everything. And if
Yes.
you screw it up, you've just lost. That's just
Yeah.
what you got.
Exactly. You destroyed your weapon trying to mod it. Good
Well,
job.
You
well, maybe. I
destroyed
mean,
your weapon
have you
with the
guys
Volcane Hammer of Doom.
have you guys played like Subnautica?
I haven't, although I've seen it. I actually saw
Oh,
you post about it, and I
yeah,
wanted to.
it's good. Well, see, I mean, Subnautica, when you craft things, you just have to have the kind of the you have to you have to have the core components because you're using like a 3D printer,
Hmm.
that's printing it. So, you got to consider in the future, when we say crafting, it actually could be something like that where it's more about finding the recipe and getting the things and putting it together and assembling it via some kind
Hmm.
of 3D, prototyping workstation. So, I mean, not, I mean, I know that like Star Citizen is supposed to be skill based, where like most things have
Hmm.
a certain amount of like involvement, but I could see where something like that might work. Although it would be
Hmm.
interesting. I mean, why if you could cook and you could actually like okay, let's say that like on a starship, like let's say you want to do exploration and your choices are the duration, the Aquila, or the Carrack. Let's
Hmm.
say you have a full crew of NPCs on those ships, but the duration, if you're doing and all three are doing the same like 2 month long trip to do
Hmm.
exploration. Well, let's say the longer being in cramped quarters of a freelancer has a
Hmm.
negative impact on your character's morale.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah, we talked
and
about that the other day,
yeah,
actually.
and so like
Like
maybe a
morale.
bit
I definitely want morale.
like a bigger ship might give
Boost
your
their morale.
right
Give them
because
stuff.
they're not as cramped up, or let's say
Yeah, there's a kitchen they can go to and stuff.
like if you stop in at a port and you buy the life support supplies, like they said that you're not going to have to eat or feed your characters, but I mean
Hmm.
maybe that should be something that take into account. Like if you stop in at a port and you pick up a really high value food and or drink things, then your NPCs are going to be happier because they have better chow. Just
Hmm.
like if you're getting military MREs, soldiers aren't happy eating that shit for very long. you know but
Yeah.
so maybe they have a system where like part of just like the Gemini, I'm sorry, the Genesis. There's all these games where you can mix up drinks and you can manage what kind of media you have to keep
Yeah.
your passengers happy. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't there be something like that included for crew? So like I get that
Yeah.
they don't want it to turn into the Sims in
Hmm.
space, Star Sims, but I can't help but wonder if some of those kinds of mechanics wouldn't have some kind of place in the longer term verse. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Now, I'll
but
tell you what I don't want to see.
what's that?
Um, I saw, well, I played since I played Elite. I saw the engineers update,
Uh huh.
and the bugs aside, the bugs were a pain. They especially when they had that ridiculously blown out of proportion article about how the AI did X, Y, and Z. I was a witness to that,
Uh huh.
but that wasn't my biggest problem. My biggest problem was the amount of RNG. I really, really don't want to see improperly implemented RNG because RNG properly implemented into I'm hungry. Anyways, properly implemented RNG is beautiful. However, what they did there was not, and I still play, but what they did there wasn't. You have like a double RNG system where you're sitting there and you find these materials which are already hard enough to find
Uh huh.
via RNG. Then you have an RNG role which says, okay, you've taken these materials that you've collected and you've thrown them in, and they kind of improve the material collection part, but you throw them into this dice roll machine pretty much is what it comes down to. And you throw the dice, and then there are drawbacks to your stuff and high effects.
Uh
But
huh.
there's like two or three levels of RNG that you have to go through before you get your weapon in the first place. And I love the way that Chris said that we go meet a weapon sealer. You maybe do something for him or pay him X amount, and he does his job, and you get better stuff for it.
Nice.
I prefer that because that's how it be in real life. If I meet someone who's a craftsman,
Right.
and I say, okay, that guy's skilled, he's got a good reputation, he's not going to make my weapons worse, which is something that can definitely happen in Elite. You can sit there and be like, oh yeah, I got this really high level. I found this one piece of polonium thousands of light years away, or sometimes here. And I searched for 4 days for this polonium, and then I use the polonium, and then you use this polonium to make a gun that sucks, or thrusters that are slower than my last thrusters.
And you're like, really? Like, so I just got to keep
And
doing
you're sitting
it
there
until I
like,
get
bruh.
lucky. It's
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah,
exactly what you do.
Yeah, you don't want to.
That's how it works.
I don't want to gamble. You know.
Yes, exactly. If
At
I
least
come
not
to
like
a guy
that.
who's fabled for his engineering skills, this guy's sitting there and he's galactically renowned, or maybe he's reclusive,
Right.
but you hear about him and you hear, okay, yeah, this guy makes really, really awesome blaster rifles. You go to him and you take your blaster rifle and you're like, here, what can you do with this? I'm going to pay you copious amounts of money, or I'm going to do you a specific favor, and that favor is going to be tangible. It's not, bring you this weird thing for flavor text reasons.
Please don't do that. Bring me the scroll of, dude. It's right on your shelf.
Yeah, I don't want to be doing this for flavor text reasons. Now, if a guy comes and he says, "Oh, really? How can I trust you? I'm gonna need you to go and deal with so and such and such convoy or something like that," see, and that's the thing. We're going and we're looking for random items out here and there, or we're exploring here and there. But imagine if it was like, hey, you want to work for me? Well, I just happen to have a job that's going on right now. Subsumption can handle what the job is based on his needs, since wants, needs, goals, aspirations are something that's handled by it. And he says, okay, I have this job.
And that is pretty
There's a
ambitious.
convoy
I
here.
know.
Yeah.
I remember Skyrim had talked about they were gonna give NPCs AI that let them have like a life, where they had goals and they moved around, and it just never happened.
Yeah. And see, this is why I'm glad they have Tony. I really trust that guy. My favorite dev. But back to what I was saying. So imagine there's a convoy out there, and it's got these rare diamonds that were being transported from Goss, and I really want them for reasons. But again, not flavor text reasons. It's something that exists, it's tangible in the verse. Or hey, these would be focusing crystals for so and such and such, and you go out, you pull off said heist, you bring them back, and it's like, wow, I like you, and you did a good job. So give me your blaster rifle and give me a few days. You come back and it's better than before. Right. There was no gambling, there was no dice rolling, and there was something specific you had to do.
Well,
and it was an achievement.
I think like the overclocking system will have an element of gamble. In other words, not necessarily the stats, but like the fact that you can. It's like when you're overclocking a chip. If the chip can't handle it, there will be portions of the chip that you can't tell what its tolerance is. So if you push it too hard, you might crack it. So in that sense, you're gambling. But
and see, and that's different.
But once you figure it out,
about that kind of thing too. Yeah. But that's different. Mm-hmm. But not this double layered dice roll of doom that's going on there.
Well, guys, I believe that we are getting close to the end of the show. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and take this final 5 questions for the player. So are you ready, Mozart?
No. Yeah.
Somehow or another, it's common courtesy for Travis to make these rapid fire questions a shotgun slug.
Blue, orange, green.
Yeah, stuff like that.
St. Charles.
Okay, so and going and ready question, flight controller choice.
The HOTAS.
Favorite flyable ship and loadout.
Avenger with dual tarantulas and all rattlers.
Most anticipated game mechanic.
Planetary landings and assassination.
So in regards to ship combat, close and personal, hit 'em at range, or some variant strategy.
Both. Depends on who I'm dealing with. Close and personal with a Hornet because I can move. Yeah. So situational.
Stranded at a station and someone parks a single-seater ship and you're stuck there, right? Leave them to it. Call for an Uber, murk them, and take it.
It depends. But Sometimes I'll take it silently. Depends on if they're around their ship at the time. But if they land there, I'll probably wait in the background and then run off and take it, and then I'll let them know that I delivered it to Olisar without a scratch.
All right.
And then pick them up
Nice.
on my ship.
And here's the thing where this is the thing where I do my own personal gamble. You say you know a lot about the lore, so here we go.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so this is the trivia question for $5 SC gift store or store credit, basically, for $5. You've got 30 seconds, and here is your question. I, Vadran Malik, am willing to reside on this red sand-covered planet filled with abandoned warehouses. Name me.
I have the picture on my wallpaper right now, and I don't.
That's funny.
That's maddening.
That's okay. And 10 seconds in.
Do not know.
Come on.
Mm,
20 seconds right now.
and the picture doesn't have the title in the daggone file name.
And okay, there you go.
All right. Well, the good news is we passed that same question on. So if you're listening in chat, you've got until I start the end of show music, till I start it, to answer the question in chat. If you get it right, cool on you, and if not, tough titty. It'll just
At the
pass
beginning
on
of
to
the
next
music,
show.
I'll tell the answer.
No, because you always wreck the music that way.
Oh, come on. I wrecked my
You
own
can
anyway.
type it in chat. How about that?
Yeah, sure, why not? Okay. Sure.
Anyhow,
It's sad. That was my wallpaper.
that's awesome.
Anyway, excellent.
That's ridiculous.
Captain Mozart, it has been a great time having you on here at Station 42, and we're hoping that you had a blast tonight with us.
Almost definitely. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, that's
Certainly glad to have you.
That's a shout out to our audience. Thanks for spending your listening time with us at Station 42. If you have any comments or requests, definitely give us your comments. YouTube, Facebook, Rocket Launcher, Snail Mail.
And look out for the
whatevs.
contest.
That's
Real
right.
quick, check. Has anybody gotten the question before I say these final lines?
Somebody said Hurston. Is that
Nope.
correct? Nope, not Hurston. Good try, Cyberwolf74.
All right, and yes, we certainly want to hear from you guys. Please give us a like and subscribe. It keeps us motivated. And thank you for everyone. We will see you next week. Same wonderful time, same wonderful place. You ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. All right, well, we're going to punch down on Quantum. Everyone hold on to something.
Avast me, Yetis. Yar! There's a hint in that.